Beloved, most people talk to the universe like they're leaving a voicemail that no one will ever hear. They speak their dreams once and then forget them. They whisper their hopes and then cancel them with doubt. They send their prayers, then chase their fears. But the universe, oh, the universe, is listening to everything. Every word, every whisper, every emotion that passes through your heart becomes a vibration, and every vibration becomes a message delivered to the divine. You are never ignored. You are never unseen. You are always heard. The problem is not that the universe is silent. It is that your energy keeps changing the order. One day you say, I am blessed. And the next you say, nothing works for me. I am rich in faith. And the next you whisper, maybe I'll never have enough. Beloved, you cannot place an order and then cancel in the same breath. The universe responds to faith, not fear. It responds to clarity, not confusion. Say softly, my words place the order. My faith tracks the blessing. My gratitude confirms the delivery. Say it again slowly. My words place the order. My faith tracks the blessing. My gratitude confirms the delivery. And one more time, with power, my words place the order. My faith tracks the blessing. My gratitude confirms the delivery. Because heaven is always listening. Spirit never sleeps. The law of vibration never misses a command. Every word you speak creates a signal, and every signal calls forth an outcome that matches its tone. When your energy says, it's done, heaven says, delivered. When your energy says, maybe, heaven pauses and waits. When your energy says, I don't believe, the delivery stops mid-route. You are not waiting on God. God is waiting on your consistency. Say softly, I speak clearly, I speak calmly, I speak confidently, and the universe listens. Say it again until it vibrates through you. I speak clearly, I speak calmly, I speak confidently, and the universe listens. Beloved, the universe is not your enemy. It is not withholding from you. It is not punishing you. It is your mirror, reflecting your words, your faith, your tone. If you speak as though you're unsure, it mirrors uncertainty. If you speak as though you are certain, it mirrors abundance. That is how divine communication works. Not through noise, but through alignment. Say softly, I am in alignment with divine order. I am in harmony with divine timing. I am in tune with divine supply. You do not need to shout to be heard. You do not need to beg to be blessed. You do not need to prove your worth to be worthy. Your worth was written into existence the day your soul was born. And every time you speak from faith, you remind the universe that you remember who you are. Say softly, I am worthy of every blessing. I am ready for divine fulfillment. I am open to receive my good. Under grace and in perfect timing. Let those words sink into your being. Feel them move through your heart like a soft golden light. You are not asking for something new. You are remembering something ancient. The truth that everything you desire already exists, waiting for your faith to call it forward. Say softly, everything I seek is already created. Everything I desire is already assigned to my name. Everything I speak with faith begins moving toward me now. You are not chasing abundance. You are aligning with it. You are not begging for love. You are becoming the vibration of love. You are not hoping for healing. You are commanding it through divine awareness. Say softly, I am not waiting for miracles. I am standing in the middle of one. I am not seeking abundance. I am the expression of it. I am not asking for proof. I am living proof. Beloved, the universe is your customer service line for faith. It does not need you to explain your pain again and again. It only needs your clarity, your confidence, your calm. If you speak with panic, your order sounds like noise. If you speak with peace, your order arrives with precision. You are not unheard. You are simply inconsistent. But the moment you steady your vibration and declare, "This is what I know. This is what I claim. This is what I expect," you activate the law. Say softly, "What I speak in faith cannot be denied. What I believe in truth cannot be delayed. What I expect with gratitude cannot be lost." You are powerful beyond measure, beloved. Your tongue is your tool. Your voice is your vibration. Your faith is your proof. Stop praying like a stranger. Start speaking like a creator. Heaven is not somewhere far away. It is inside the sound of your words. Say softly, "When I speak, heaven loosens. When I declare, heaven moves. When I thank, heaven delivers." The law of divine communication is perfect. It records every word. It honors every vibration. It never fails to deliver what you consistently believe. So say it again, louder now. My words place the order. My faith tracks the blessing. My gratitude confirms the delivery. Pause. Breathe. Let that truth settle deep into your spirit. You don't have to ask again. You don't have to fear again. Your order is confirmed. Your blessing is acknowledged. Your miracle is in motion. Say softly, "Everything I have spoken in faith is already finding its way to me now. Everything I have affirmed is being fulfilled in divine order. Everything I desire is manifesting, under grace and in perfect timing." And so it is. Beloved, when you order something online, you don't call the company every hour asking, "Did you get my order? Are you sure? Is it really coming?" No. You place it once, you receive a confirmation, and you wait in trust. You don't see it, but you know it's moving. You don't hold it yet, but you know it's yours. You don't question the road. You trust the system. Now imagine if you could treat your prayers, your affirmations, your manifestations the same way. Imagine speaking your desire to the universe once, in faith, and then resting, truly resting, knowing it's already on its way. Beloved, that is the divine meaning of faith. Faith is not blind hope. It is divine confirmation. It is your spiritual tracking number, the proof that your request has been received by heaven. Say softly, "My faith is my proof. My faith is my receipt. My faith is my tracking number." Say it again slowly. "My faith is my proof. My faith is my receipt. My faith is my tracking number." When you pray in doubt, your order sits in limbo. When you declare in fear, your vibration sends mixed signals. But when you speak in faith, calm, clear, and trusting, the universe begins to move instantly in your favor. Faith is the energy that tells heaven, "The customer believes. Begin delivery." Say softly, "What I spoke in faith is already moving. What I believe in peace is already arriving. What I thank in advance is already mine." Beloved, faith is not about seeing proof. It is about feeling peace before the proof. It's the gentle voice that says, "It's handled," even when nothing seems to be happening. You may not see the package yet, but it is already being shipped through divine timing. You may not feel the blessing yet, but it is already moving through spiritual channels. Heaven has perfect logistics. Nothing is ever lost in divine transit. No request of faith ever returns unanswered. Say softly, "My faith never fails. My words never return empty. My blessings never miss me." Repeat it again. With calm power, "My faith never fails. My words never return empty. My blessings never miss me." A faith is not asking, "When will it come?" Faith smiles and says, "It's already on the way." Faith does not track with anxiety. It tracks with assurance. Faith does not panic at delay. It praises in divine order. Because faith knows delay does not mean denial. Delay means development. Delay means preparation. Delay means the universe is aligning every detail in perfection. Say softly, "I am not waiting. I am aligning. I am not delayed. I am being prepared. I am not forgotten. I am being refined. Beloved, worry is the language of fear, but faith is the language of creation. Every time you worry, you reset the delivery. Every time you doubt, you press pause on the blessing. But every time you trust, the process accelerates. The universe listens to your vibration the way a GPS listens to direction. When your faith stays firm, your destination stays clear. When you change your energy, but it always finds its way back, because faith cannot be lost. Say softly, my faith guides me. My faith directs me. My faith delivers me. Beloved, remember faith is not a feeling, it is a knowing. It is the stillness that says, I don't have to see it to believe it. It is the calm that says, I don't have to chase what's already mine. It is the confidence that says, what belongs to me will find me. When you trust divine order, you rest. When you trust divine timing, you stop forcing. When you trust divine law, you stop fearing. Say softly, I trust the law of divine order. I trust the perfection of divine timing. I trust the faithfulness of divine supply. You cannot manifest through anxiety. You manifest through assurance. You cannot attract through desperation. You attract through devotion. You cannot command through confusion. You command through clarity. Faith is the invisible magnet that draws visible results. Faith is the unseen hand that arranges the scene of your miracle. Faith is the silent force that whispers, it's already done. Say softly, it's already done. It's already on the way. Say it again, with belief. It's already done. It's already mine. It's already on the way. The world will try to convince you to doubt what you can't see. But the spiritual mind knows. Everything seen was once unseen. Everything you have ever touched began as energy. Every miracle you have received began as faith. The invisible always becomes visible. The word always becomes flesh. The prayer always becomes manifestation. That is divine law. Say softly, my words become things. My prayers become reality. My faith becomes manifestation. Beloved, your only job is to believe. The moment you speak with faith, the universe begins its work. Your part is to speak, to trust, to rest. Heaven's part is to deliver, to align, to reveal. Faith means you stay steady even when you cannot see movement. It means you stay peaceful even when others panic. It means you stay thankful even when you don't yet have the evidence. Say softly, I am steady. I am peaceful. I am thankful. Because I know, it's already done. Faith is the resting point between asking and receiving. It's the bridge that carries your prayer across the unseen. It's the invisible thread that connects your desire to its destination. You don't need to know how. You only need to know it will. Say softly, I don't chase, I trust. I don't fear, I flow. I don't demand, I divine. Beloved, every miracle has a route, and faith is the fastest path to delivery. The universe moves not by time, but by trust. When you trust, you shorten the distance. When you doubt, you create delay. So today, rest in knowing what you have spoken in faith is already unfolding. The moment you believed, heaven began to deliver. Say softly, one final time. My faith is my tracking number. My belief is my confirmation. My peace is my proof. My blessings are on their way, under grace and in perfect timing. And so it is. Beloved, the universe loves a thankful heart. Gratitude is not just manners. It is energy. It is the vibration that tells the divine, I trust you. I know you heard me. I know it's done. Thank you. Before the blessing arrives, you prove that you believe in the law. Gratitude is not the final step of manifestation. It is the frequency that keeps your miracle alive. Say softly, I thank before I see. I receive before I touch. I celebrate before it arrives. Say it again slowly, I thank before I see. I receive before I touch. I celebrate before it arrives. Gratitude is your follow-up message to the universe. It says, I got the confirmation. I trust the process. Every time you say, thank you, you strengthen the signal between you and divine mind. You become a clear channel for more good to flow. Beloved, think of it like this. Every prayer you speak is a message sent out, and every thank you speak is the reply that says, yes, I received the instruction. Continue delivery. When you forget gratitude, the line goes quiet. But when you remember gratitude, the connection glows again. Gratitude keeps your energy open, your heart peaceful, your faith alive. Say softly, gratitude is my connection. Gratitude is my vibration. Gratitude is my gateway to miracles. Beloved, worry closes the channel. Fear adds static to the line. But gratitude clears it all. When you live in gratitude, you tune your soul to the same frequency as abundance. Because gratitude does not ask, when will it come? It says, it is already mine. Say softly, I live in constant gratitude. I thank for what is. I thank for what was. I thank for what is coming. Repeat it again. I thank for what is. I thank for what was. I thank for what is coming. A gratitude turns your waiting into worship. It turns your delay into divine dance. It turns your ordinary moments into answered prayers. When you wake up in the morning and say, thank you for this new day, you are confirming to the universe that you're ready for new blessings. When you pay your bills and whisper, thank you that I had the money to pay, you invite greater flow. When you bless your challenges and say, thank you for what this is teaching me, you turn obstacles into opportunities. Gratitude transforms everything it touches. It takes the smallest seed and multiplies it into a forest. It takes the simplest joy and magnifies it into peace. It takes what you already have and expands it beyond measure. Say softly, every thank you multiplies my good. Every praise expands my blessings. Every word of gratitude opens a new door. Beloved, gratitude is a magnet. It pulls miracles from the unseen into the seen. It whispers to the universe, keep it coming. It tells the divine, this vessel is open. This heart is ready. This mind is aligned. The grateful person never runs out because they live in constant recognition of the supply that never ends. When you thank the universe, you remind it that you remember your connection to infinite abundance. Say softly, the more I thank, the more I receive. The more I praise, the more I prosper. The more I bless, the more I am blessed. Beloved, the ungrateful mind says, it's not enough. The grateful mind says, it's already overflowing. The ungrateful heart complains. The grateful heart creates. And the universe listens to whichever one speaks louder. Say softly, I choose to be grateful now. I choose to see blessings everywhere. I choose to live in appreciation. Is not pretending everything is perfect. It is knowing that everything is purposeful. It is saying, even this will work for my good. It is trusting that the divine plan wastes nothing. Not your time, not your pain, not your effort. When you can say, thank you in the middle of uncertainty, you prove that your faith has matured. You prove that your trust is stronger than your timeline. You prove that you are no longer praying for proof. You are standing in proof. Say softly, I thank you, divine source, for what is unseen. I thank you for what is unfolding. I for what is on the way. To say it again from your heart, I thank you for what is unseen. I thank you for what is unfolding. I thank you for what is on the way. Beloved, every time you thank, the law of circulation activates. You send energy of appreciation out, and it returns to you multiplied. Every thank you becomes an echo that travels through the universe, collects blessings, and returns home as abundance, peace, and love. Gratitude is not only an emotion, it is a command. It tells the divine, I am ready for more. It opens the floodgates of supply. It cleanses your energy and releases resistance. Say softly, I am open through gratitude. I am expanded through gratitude. I am supplied through gratitude. Beloved, you may have been taught to only thank when you receive. But spiritual gratitude thanks before the arrival. It thanks during the waiting. It thanks through the test. Because it knows, if I can thank now, I can trust forever. Say softly, I thank before I see. I receive before I touch. I celebrate before it arrives. Gratitude keeps your faith alive. Faith places the order. But gratitude keeps the line open until delivery. Faith says, it's coming. And gratitude says, it's here. Faith starts the flow, and gratitude keeps it moving. That is why in a constant loop of faith and gratitude. Believe, thank, receive. Believe, thank, receive. Until it becomes your nature. Say softly, I thank, I receive, I believe. I thank, I receive. Repeat it like a rhythm. I believe, I thank, I receive. Let those reverberate through like prayer and melody. You are training your spirit to stay open. You are training your vibration to stay grateful. Because the more you thank, the faster your blessings travel toward you. Gratitude removes delay, removes doubt, removes distance. It makes your heart magnetic and your life miraculous. Say softly, gratitude keeps me connected. Gratitude keeps me aligned. Gratitude keeps me blessed. Beloved, your gratitude is the signature on the package from heaven. Without it, the blessing cannot be fully delivered. But when you sign your name in thankfulness, the miracle is released immediately. So today, give thanks for what is already unfolding. Give thanks for what you have not yet seen. Give thanks for what is becoming visible even now. And say softly, one final decree. Thank you for everything. The lessons that taught me, the faith that strengthened me, and the blessings that are still on the way. I live in gratitude. I receive in gratitude. Under grace and in perfect timing. And so it is. Beloved, every answered prayer, every miracle, every blessing that has ever reached you, it did not arrive early, and it did not arrive late. It arrived in perfect timing. Because heaven never rushes, and divine law never delays. When you plant a seed, you don't dig it up every day to check if it's growing. You water it. You trust the process. You know that time is working in your favor, even when you can't see the movement. That is what divine timing is. The invisible order that moves everything to you when you are ready to receive it. The law of timing is not controlled by your calendar. It's governed by your consciousness. Say softly, everything in my life unfolds under grace and in perfect timing. Say it again slowly. Everything in my life unfolds under grace and in perfect timing. You do not need to chase what is already on its way. You do not need to panic about what seems delayed. Nothing that belongs to you can ever miss you. And nothing that is not for you will ever stay. Beloved, the divine does not withhold. It prepares. Sometimes the delay is your protection. Sometimes the waiting is your preparation. And sometimes the silence is your strengthening. Say softly, I am being prepared. I am being protected. I am being positioned. Repeat it again with conviction. I am being prepared. I am being protected. I am being positioned. Divine timing is not the universe saying no. It's saying, not yet, because I'm arranging something better. You see, heaven works like a perfect orchestra. Every note must enter at the right moment, or the music loses its beauty. You are part of that orchestra, and every event, every connection, every miracle is tuning itself to your perfect divine rhythm. Say softly, my life is in divine rhythm. My steps are guided. My moments are holy. Beloved, impatience blocks manifestation. When you rush the universe, you interrupt grace. But when you trust the universe, you invite ease. Divine law doesn't need your worry. It needs your willingness. You do not need to see the clock. You only need to trust the Creator. Time is not your enemy. Time is your servant, moving everything into alignment. Say softly, time is my friend. Time is my ally. Time is working for me. Every dream has a divine due date. Every desire has a perfect hour of arrival. Every blessing has an appointed moment of revelation. If it hasn't come yet, it's not because you are forgotten. It's because heaven is perfecting the details. The people are being aligned. The resources are being gathered. The path is being cleared. And your energy is being refined. Say softly, everything I need is being arranged. Everything I desire is being aligned. Everything I have asked for is being prepared. Beloved, divine timing does not always look logical. Sometimes it feels like detour, sometimes like delay, sometimes like silence. But every delay is actually a redirection toward divine order. The law of grace never misplaces your miracle. It delivers it when you can carry it with peace. Say softly, I trust divine timing. I surrender the need to rush. I rest in the rhythm of grace. Say it again with calm assurance. I trust divine timing. I surrender the need to rush. I rest in the rhythm of grace. Beloved, when your vibration says now, but your readiness says, almost, heaven listens to readiness. Because divine timing is about protection, not punishment. If you received your blessing before your wisdom, you would lose it. But when you grow into your wisdom first, you can sustain every miracle that arrives. So don't curse the waiting season, bless it. Because waiting seasons are growing seasons. Silence is teaching you stillness. Delay is teaching you devotion. And preparation is teaching you power. Say softly, I bless the waiting. I bless the silence. I bless the process. Repeat it again. I bless the waiting. I bless the silence. I bless the process. Every moment is working for you, beloved. Not 1 second is wasted. Divine timing is never late, because spirit does not wear a watch. It moves by alignment, not by deadlines. When you surrender the timeline, you invite the miracle. When you release the when, you make space for the wow. When you trust that it's coming, you magnetize it faster. Say softly, I no longer chase the clock. I flow with divine order. I trust the perfect unfolding of my life. Beloved, the universe does not respond to impatience. It responds to peace. And peace says, if it's mine, it's coming. If it's delayed, it's developing. If it's here, it's right on time. And say softly, I am always on time for my blessings. My blessings are always on time for me. Say it again with a smile. I am always on time for my blessings. My blessings are always on time for me. Divine timing is the bridge between desire and destiny. It ensures that everything you receive arrives. When you can honor it, when you can hold it, when you can handle it, the universe will never deliver something that would break your peace. It delivers only when you are ready to keep the blessing sacred. So breathe, beloved. Your waiting is not wasted. Your process is holy. Your timing is divine. Say softly, I am patient in faith. I am peaceful in waiting. I am prepared for perfect timing. When you stop forcing, you start flowing. When you stop doubting, you start receiving. When you stop rushing, you start arriving. Because everything that belongs to you will reach you. Under grace and in perfect timing. Say softly, nothing can block my divine good. Nothing can stop what is mine. Everything unfolds in perfect time. And now, beloved, rest. Let go of the clock. Let go of the calendar. Let go of the need to control. You have done your part. You have spoken your truth. You have held your faith. You have given your thanks. Now trust the law. Trust the timing. Trust the grace. Say softly one final decree. Everything I have ordered in faith is being delivered in perfect order. I release the when and how. I trust the divine now. My blessings arrive under grace, in perfect timing, and with perfect peace. And so it is. Beloved, you have spoken your truth. You have remembered who you are. You have opened the sacred line between you and divine mind. Now it is time to rest, not in waiting, but in knowing. Every word you have spoken in faith is alive. Every prayer you have whispered has been heard. Every desire you has already forming in the invisible. You do not need to chase your miracle. Your miracle is chasing you. Say softly, I am aligned. I am at peace. I am ready. You are no longer a beggar of blessings. You are the voice that commands divine law with love. You no longer talk to the universe in fear. You speak as one who knows the system. You speak as one who knows the source. Say softly, my words place the order. My faith tracks the blessing. My gratitude confirms the delivery. Repeat it again until your whole body feels it. My words place the order. My faith tracks the blessing. My gratitude confirms the delivery. Your words are holy. Your faith is sacred. Your gratitude is magnetic. And the law that governs life has already said yes. Beloved, life is not random. It moves in divine rhythm. Everything is unfolding under grace, in perfect timing and for your highest good. You have learned. You have earned. You have returned. You have learned the language of trust. You have earned through faith and peace. You have returned to gratitude and grace. Say softly, I have learned in wisdom. I have earned in faith. I return in love. You are no longer speaking from lack. You are speaking from knowing. No longer asking if it will happen. You are declaring that it already has. You are not waiting for your good. Your good is waiting for your recognition. Say softly, everything I have asked for is already in motion. Everything meant for me is moving toward me now. Everything that belongs to me arrives under grace and in perfect timing. Now breathe deeply. Feel the peace that comes from surrender. Feel the calm that follows faith. Feel the quiet power that gratitude brings. Say softly, I rest in divine order. I move in divine rhythm. I live in divine grace. You are the proof that faith works. You are the living answer to your own prayer. You are not separate from the supply. You are part of it. You are not calling to heaven from below. Heaven is speaking through you now. Say softly, heaven lives in me. Faith lives in me. Abundance lives in me. Beloved, this is the truth. What you have ordered in love arrive in love. What you have spoken in faith will manifest in peace. What you have thanked in advance will blessed in tenfold. So rest now. Rest in certainty. Rest in grace. Rest in the divine knowing that all is well. Say softly, one final decree. I speak in faith. I wait in peace. I receive in gratitude. Everything unfolds under grace and in perfect timing. And so it is.
Water brings wealth. The river flows, the rain falls, the ocean tides move, and in their rhythm lies the secret of prosperity. Water is the universal carrier of abundance, the invisible hand that nourishes fields, fills granaries, and quickens the life of nations. When water flows freely, there is fruitfulness, there is growth, there is wealth. When it is blocked, stagnation appears, and life becomes parched. The same law applies to the spirit, for man's life is also a stream, meant to circulate, to give, to receive, to flow without fear or resistance. Water teaches us that supply is endless. A drop may appear small, yet it is connected to the vastness of oceans. So too is every coin, every opportunity, every blessing. It is a drop connected to the infinite sea of abundance. The mistake of man is to see the drop and forget the ocean. He clutches the small and fears loss, yet the law of water declares as it flows out, more flows in. The spring that gives never runs dry, for its source is eternal. Wealth does not come by hoarding, but by circulation, just as rivers keep their purity by movement, not by standing still. Observe the farmer who trusts the rain. He scatters his seed in the dark earth, knowing water will awaken it. He does not dig it up in doubt, nor cry out in fear of drought, but lives in faith that the law of growth cannot fail. So it is with wealth. One must give with confidence, sow with certainty, and know that life returns multiplied. To withhold is to dry the ground of one's own harvest. To release is to invite the river of increase. Water also teaches the lesson of adaptability. It takes the form of the vessel it enters, whether a cup, a jar, or a mighty lake, yet it loses none of its essence. Wealth, too, is not limited to coins or notes. It may appear as ideas, opportunities, health, friendships, or doors opening at the right hour. When one insists it must come in only one form, one limits the stream. But when one allows it to take its own way, wealth appears in unexpected channels, as sure as rain finds its path to the sea. There is also cleansing in water. A rushing stream washes away the old leaves, the broken branches, the dust of yesterday. Prosperity comes when the channels of thought are cleared of fear, resentment, and doubt. Just as muddy water settles when undisturbed, so a mind at peace reflects the clear truth of supply. When the mind flows with gratitude, forgiveness, and expectancy, wealth rushes in as naturally as rivers to the ocean. Thus, water is the emblem of wealth itself, flowing, abundant, adaptable, purifying, and unending. To align with it is to step into the law of circulation, where giving and receiving are one, and the tide of prosperity never fails. Water symbolizes endless circulation of abundance. To understand this truth, one must look at the way water moves through the world, never ceasing, never clinging, always flowing from one form into another, and yet never diminished. It evaporates from the sea, rises into the clouds, falls as rain, seeps into the soil, springs up as fountains, gathers in rivers, returns to the ocean, and begins again. This cycle is unbroken, eternal, and generous, offering life to every living thing. The lesson is clear: abundance is not a possession to be grasped, but a flow to be entered. The moment one sees water as a mirror of wealth, the mind awakens to a higher law, the law that says supply cannot end. For it circulates in perfect rhythm, carrying prosperity wherever it moves. When one watches a river, one sees that it never worries whether there will be more water tomorrow. It simply flows, confident that the source is unceasing. In this same way, life asks us to trust that there is always more wealth, more opportunity, more good, ready to flow into our lives if we do not obstruct the channel. The human error is in believing that abundance is limited, that once spent it may not return. This belief dries the river of prosperity, for thought is the channel through which abundance flows. To think shortage is to dam the stream, but to think circulation is to invite the endless current of increase. Water teaches the fearless truth that there is no end to supply, for the source is infinite and eternal. Consider the ocean, vast, immeasurable, teeming with life. Every river gives itself to the ocean, and yet the ocean is never full. Every wave that crashes on the shore is instantly replaced by another, and another, and another. So it is with wealth. Each gift, each act of generosity, each expenditure, when aligned with trust, returns multiplied. Because the source is not the coin or the hand that gives it, but the infinite reservoir behind it all. Just as the tide rises without effort, so abundance rises when one aligns with the truth of circulation. The wealth of the ocean is not hoarded but expressed, for it sends forth clouds to bring rain, which fills rivers, which return again. Thus, wealth moves in a circle, not a straight line. A stagnant pond, cut off from flow, becomes murky and lifeless, breeding decay. Yet a stream that flows freely sparkles with clarity and sustains multitudes. This too is the law of prosperity. When one clutches tightly, fearing to lose, wealth grows stale, opportunities dry up, and joy is replaced with burden. But when one allows giving and receiving to move in balance, life stays fresh, creative, and fruitful. Water never asks, "What if I give too much of myself?" It pours down from the clouds, it rushes across valleys, it seeps into roots, and still it is renewed. So also must man trust that in giving, he does not empty himself, but connects more deeply to the unending flow of abundance. Every culture has known the sacredness of water. Ancient temples placed fountains at their gates to symbolize cleansing and renewal. For they knew water carried more than refreshment. It carried the symbol of eternal supply. Farmers prayed for rain not only for their crops, but as a sign of divine favor, a reminder that the heavens were still open, that abundance was still flowing. Traders and merchants built their cities on rivers, knowing that flowing water meant flowing wealth. The pattern repeats across all ages and lands. Where water flows, prosperity blooms. This is not coincidence but law. For water is the visible expression of circulation, and circulation is the heartbeat of abundance. One may look also at the smallest drop and still find the lesson. A single raindrop falls into a puddle and creates ripples that expand outward without end. So it is with wealth. One act of generosity, however small, expands far beyond what the eye can see. It touches lives, creates opportunities, awakens gratitude, and returns multiplied. The one who sees this truth does not measure their giving by its size but by its flow. For a drop is not less significant than a river when connected to the source. The drop is proof that the ocean is near, just as the coin in one's hand is proof of infinite supply waiting to be released. The endless circulation of water also shows that abundance does not belong to one alone but to all. Rain falls on fields without choosing one over another. Rivers pass through nations without concern for boundaries drawn by men. The tide belongs not to one shore but to the entire earth. Likewise, wealth is not the possession of a few but the inheritance of all. For it flows through channels seen and unseen, touching each life in its own way. To claim monopoly over it is to resist its nature, but to recognize its universality is to align oneself with its true movement. In sharing, one enters the flow. In hoarding, one steps out of it. There is also the truth that water follows the path of least resistance. It does not argue with stone or mountain, but finds the way around, under, or through. In the same manner, wealth seeks the open channel. When the mind is filled with fear, doubt, and resistance, wealth cannot enter, for the channel is blocked. But when the mind is clear, trusting, and expectant, wealth flows as naturally as water down a slope. The law is effortless. Open the way, and the stream will find you. No forcing is needed, no struggle required. Abundance is not made but allowed, for it is already flowing, already moving, already seeking its outlet. To meditate on water is to meditate on wealth. Its endless circulation whispers the secret that life is not about accumulation but flow, not about holding but releasing, not about scarcity but endless supply. The rain that falls today has fallen for centuries past and will fall for centuries to come, nourishing countless generations. So it is with abundance. What sustains one will sustain another, for the source never runs dry. The one who understands this truth does not fear loss, for he knows there is always more, just as the river knows it will always be fed by the rain, and the rain knows it will always return from the sea. Wealth flows through giving, not hoarding. The very nature of abundance is movement, and when that movement is embraced, prosperity multiplies. When wealth is clutched tightly, when the hand is closed in fear of loss, circulation halts, and what was once living becomes stagnant. To give is to keep the channel open, to let the current of supply flow freely, knowing that in releasing one is not emptying but making space for greater increase. The one who understands this principle no longer fears generosity, for he knows that wealth, like water, must be poured out in order to return. A tree gives fruit without hesitation. It does not question whether the branches will again be heavy with harvest. It yields freely, season after season, because the law of growth is certain. So too must one give of wealth, talent, kindness, and service, knowing that every act returns in multiplied form. The soil does not resent the seed planted within it. It receives, nourishes, and returns a harvest far greater than what was sown. When one gives with trust, the same law is fulfilled, for giving is not loss but multiplication. Hoarding, on the other hand, is born of fear. It whispers that there may not be enough tomorrow, so one must grasp tightly today. Yet this very act of holding interrupts the flow, just as damming a stream can dry the fields downstream. A hoarded coin grows cold, locked away from circulation, unable to do its work. But a coin released into the world becomes bread on a table, clothing on a child, wages for a worker, profit for a merchant, and eventually, it circles back, carrying with it unseen blessings. The wealth that is given expands, but the wealth that is hoarded diminishes. One can observe this in nature. The clouds give rain to the earth, and the earth returns vapor to the skies. This eternal exchange sustains all life. If the clouds withheld their rain, the earth would wither, crops would fail, and even the clouds themselves would eventually disperse into nothingness. Giving keeps the cycle alive. In the same way, when wealth is circulated through generosity, investment, and trust, the cycle of abundance is maintained. When it is withheld, both giver and receiver suffer, for the chain of prosperity is broken. A farmer does not keep every seed in his storehouse, fearing famine. He knows that by planting he is not losing, but ensuring future harvests. Each seed released becomes many. Likewise, the wealth that is shared, whether in material form or in acts of service, multiplies in return. The one who gives from a heart of trust stands in harmony with the law of circulation. The one who withholds out of fear isolates himself from the very source of increase. True wealth is never about possession alone, but about movement. A river that flows enriches everything along its banks: trees, animals, villages, cities. A river that is blocked creates floods in one place and drought in another. The movement of wealth is meant to bring balance, nourishing lives, creating opportunities, building communities. The giver becomes a channel through which the abundance of life expresses itself. To refuse to give is to step outside of alignment with this universal principle. Even in the smallest act of giving, the law is present. A kind word given in sincerity may open doors of friendship that lead to unexpected blessings. A meal shared with another may ripple into gratitude that returns in ways unseen. A gift of money, when given without fear, may return in the form of a new opportunity, a profitable idea, or support at the moment it is most needed. Giving sets forces in motion that extend beyond the act itself. Hoarding stops those forces and isolates one from the living flow of prosperity. The heart knows this truth instinctively. There is a natural joy in giving, a sense of expansion, a feeling that life has grown richer in the very act of release. That joy is the soul recognizing alignment with universal law. Fear resists it, whispering that giving diminishes, but truth declares the opposite: giving multiplies. The open hand is never empty for long, for it invites the flow of new supply. The closed fist may seem secure, but it holds only what it already has, and no more can enter. History itself shows that societies that embraced circulation flourished, while those that hoarded crumbled. Cities that traded, shared, and invested in their people grew into centers of prosperity. Those that feared loss, withholding resources and clinging to wealth, became brittle and fell. The law of giving is not limited to individuals, but applies to nations, communities, and generations. Prosperity grows where circulation thrives. To give is also an act of trust. It acknowledges that wealth does not come from the coin in hand, but from the source behind it. The farmer trusts the earth. The sailor trusts the wind. The giver trusts the law of abundance. In that trust, doors open that would otherwise remain shut. Opportunities appear, assistance arrives, and wealth takes forms beyond expectation. Hoarding, by contrast, is an act of distrust, a denial of the infinite nature of supply. It limits vision, closes doors, and creates the very scarcity it fears. There is also an unseen dimension to giving. The energy of generosity multiplies in ways the mind cannot track. A gift given in love carries with it a vibration that attracts further love. An offering made in faith carries a magnetic quality that draws opportunities into the giver's life. Circulation is not merely physical but spiritual, touching realms beyond what the eye can measure. Wealth flows not just through currency, but through ideas, connections, inspiration, and timing. Giving activates this unseen network of return. Water does not ask where it flows, nor demand assurance that it will return. It pours itself out, knowing the cycle is eternal. In this, it teaches the law of giving. Wealth must move. It must be shared, invested, released into circulation. To do so is to honor the truth that abundance was never meant to stagnate. Every act of giving is like casting bread upon the waters, certain that it will return in multiplied form, carried by currents unseen. The more freely one gives, the more freely one receives, for life itself delights in circulation, and wealth is its instrument. Adaptability invites unexpected prosperity. Life, like water, does not demand rigid conformity but rewards flexibility and openness. Water flows effortlessly around obstacles, finding its path even when rocks block the way, cliffs rise before it, or valleys twist its course. It does not resist, it adjusts. It does not fret over how the journey will unfold, it simply moves, and in doing so sustains life wherever it travels. Wealth, like water, comes most easily to those who can adapt to circumstances, who are willing to flow with change, and who trust that the channels of opportunity can take forms beyond expectation. Resistance limits movement, but adaptability opens doors, creates pathways, and allows blessings to appear in forms that the rigid mind could never anticipate. When one clings too tightly to a single idea of what wealth should look like, one closes off the avenues through which prosperity might flow. The coin in hand, the job title, the fixed plan, the rigid schedule, these may all serve as obstacles if held with attachment. Life, in its infinite intelligence, delivers abundance in ways that the narrow mind might initially overlook. A change in career, a new friendship, an unexpected investment, a sudden move. All can bring wealth in ways that obey the universal law of supply, yet bypass the rigid expectations of the ego. Flexibility allows one to recognize these channels and step into them, whereas rigidity blocks the flow. Consider the river once again. It does not collapse when a boulder falls in its path. Instead, it curves, bends, and flows around, under, or even over the obstruction. It adjusts without hesitation, without complaint, without doubt. The river's flexibility is what allows it to reach the sea. In the same manner, prosperity flows to those who can adapt their plans, shift their perspectives, and embrace change without fear. Wealth often arrives in forms that are not immediately recognizable. Only a mind trained in adaptability can perceive the hidden gifts, opportunities, and unexpected avenues that life presents. Adaptability also requires courage. To release a fixed idea of what is necessary or acceptable is to step into uncertainty. Many fear the unknown, preferring the comfort of routine or the illusion of control. Yet the law of abundance requires movement, not stagnation. And life rewards the bold who can bend without breaking. The person who clings to outdated strategies, insists on one way of achieving success, or resists innovation may find wealth elusive, for prosperity is dynamic, ever-changing, and often appears in forms that challenge preconceived notions. Flexibility is not compromise, it is alignment with the flow of life. In practical terms, adaptability can take many forms. It may mean learning new skills to meet changing demands, shifting investments in response to economic currents, or approaching problems with creative solutions rather than fixed routines. It may involve changing one's mindset about what constitutes success, recognizing that wealth is not confined to material possessions, but may appear as knowledge, health, influence, or relationships. Each time one adjusts to circumstances rather than resisting them, one opens the door for unexpected prosperity to enter. Resistance, by contrast, creates friction that slows or halts the flow. The principle extends beyond personal action into relationships and communities. Businesses that thrive are those that respond to market shifts, consumer preferences, and technological innovation. Communities that prosper adapt to changing environmental, social, and economic conditions. Inflexibility leads to decline, whereas responsiveness and adaptability bring opportunity and growth. The same law applies individually. Those who embrace change, who adjust their attitudes, behaviors, and strategies, attract resources, ideas, and partnerships that they could not have anticipated. Adaptability also fosters creativity, which is a hidden form of wealth. When one is open to change, new ideas arise naturally. One sees solutions that were previously invisible, discovers opportunities in challenges, and turns obstacles into stepping stones. Wealth is not only a function of what is already known or possessed, but also of the ability to perceive and act upon possibilities. The adaptive mind is like a fertile field ready to receive seeds from unexpected sources. Rigidity is like barren soil, closed off to the flow of inspiration. Even in financial matters, the principle is clear. Investments that are diversified, plans that include contingencies, and approaches that allow for adjustment are more likely to yield returns than rigid, single-minded strategies. Opportunities often appear when least expected. A sudden offer, a chance meeting, a pivot in the market, and only those prepared to adapt can take full advantage. To insist that wealth must come through one narrow channel is to block other avenues and limit the potential for abundance. Flexibility creates room for surprise, serendipity, and expansion. The spiritual dimension of adaptability is equally powerful. Life rewards the flexible heart that can let go of attachment, release judgment, and accept the unknown. Wealth is not always in the form of material gain. It can appear as peace, joy, insight, or relationships. By being adaptable in expectation and open to life's unfolding, one allows these non-material forms of abundance to flow as freely as money or possessions. Resistance, worry, or insistence on a fixed form limits the richness of experience, while adaptability allows all forms of wealth to manifest. Even adversity contains the seed of prosperity when met with flexibility. A sudden loss, a change in circumstances, or a challenge that seems insurmountable can redirect the flow of life toward new avenues, like water navigating a rocky gorge. Those who bend with circumstances discover hidden streams, fertile valleys, and new routes to abundance. Those who resist become trapped, their energy dissipated in fruitless struggle, while those who adapt harness the same situation to create opportunity, growth, and reward. The law of adaptability emphasizes that prosperity is not a fixed destination but a dynamic flow. The mind that is willing to pivot, the heart that can release rigid expectations, and the hand that can take new forms of action align with life's current. Just as water nourishes every valley, it touches without demanding the landscape change to suit it. Wealth flows to those who can adjust without losing essence. Flexibility is not submission, it is mastery of circumstance. A conscious choice to work with life rather than against it, and the secret pathway through which unexpected prosperity travels. Through adaptability, the mind learns to see beyond limitation, the heart learns to embrace uncertainty, and the spirit discovers the endless avenues through which life expresses abundance. The one who can flow, bend, and adjust in alignment with opportunity does not merely survive. They thrive in ways that the rigid, the fearful, and the resistant cannot imagine. Each obstacle becomes a lesson, each challenge a guide, and each change a portal to wealth in forms that defy expectation. Clearing thoughts creates channels for supply. The mind, like a riverbed, must be free from obstruction for abundance to flow. When fear, doubt, resentment, or anger fill the mental landscape, wealth encounters resistance, and the current of prosperity slows or diverts entirely. Just as water cannot pass through a clogged channel, opportunities and blessings cannot reach the one whose mind is congested with negative thought patterns. The first step toward wealth is therefore not external effort alone, but internal clearing. A mind uncluttered, calm, and expectant becomes a natural conduit for abundance, drawing resources, ideas, and circumstances with ease and clarity. Thoughts are the invisible architecture through which the flow of supply travels. Every limiting belief acts as a dam, stopping the circulation of wealth. I am not enough. There is never enough. I do not deserve this. These statements form mental blockages that prevent resources from arriving. Each thought carries energy, and the repeated reinforcement of limitation shapes the environment to reflect those beliefs. Clearing the mind does not mean ignoring reality, it means aligning with the principle that the universe is abundant, and that supply is always available for those whose minds are open and receptive. Gratitude is one of the most effective tools for clearing the mental channels. When one focuses on what is already present and expresses appreciation, the mind shifts from scarcity to abundance. Gratitude acts like a gentle current, washing away the debris of negative thinking and opening space for new wealth to flow. The person who maintains a mental practice of acknowledgement and thanks finds that opportunities present themselves naturally, ideas appear, and help arrives in ways previously unseen. Without gratitude, even favorable circumstances may go unnoticed, and the channels remain partially blocked by the murk of discontent and complaint. Forgiveness is another essential aspect of clearing thoughts. Harboring resentment, anger, or judgment creates internal turbulence that blocks the smooth flow of prosperity. Just as a river slowed by fallen branches loses momentum and energy, the mind burdened with grudges resists the natural movement of supply. To forgive is to remove these obstructions, to allow energy to circulate freely, and to make room for blessings to enter. Forgiveness does not condone harm, it simply releases the mind from holding on to what no longer serves, creating space for new abundance to manifest. Visualization and focused intention also serve as tools for clearing the channels of thought. By picturing the desired outcome clearly and consistently, one aligns mental energy with the reality they wish to create. A clear image of wealth, success, or opportunity acts like a straight, open channel, allowing the currents of supply to move unhindered. Confusion, uncertainty, or vague intentions act as twists and turns in the channel, dissipating energy and slowing the flow. The power of focused thought lies in its ability to carve a path through the subconscious mind, removing obstacles and directing the current of abundance where it is most effective. Self-talk shapes the flow as well. The language one uses internally sets the tone for external manifestation. Words of limitation or fear constrict the mind's openness to supply. Positive, affirming language opens the mental space, much like clearing debris from a river, but allows water to move freely. Statements such as, "I am capable of abundance," "Opportunities flow to me easily," and "I am worthy of prosperity," are not merely motivational. They are practical instruments for maintaining clear channels through which wealth can pass. The repetition of such affirmations strengthens the mental pathways, ensuring that supply meets no resistance. Mental clutter, doubt, and indecision act as sediments in the river of thought, slowing the current and creating turbulence. To clear these sediments, one must practice discernment, choosing which ideas, influences, and priorities to allow in the mind. Not every worry, not every opinion, not every fear requires attention. By letting go of unnecessary mental weight, the flow of wealth becomes stronger and more direct. This discipline of mental selection and focus ensures that resources are drawn efficiently and effectively, without wasted effort or misdirection. Meditation and reflection serve to clear and deepen the channels of thought. When the mind is quieted, free from constant chatter and distraction, one becomes aware of hidden blockages and can release them consciously. Meditation allows insight into the ways limiting beliefs shape behavior and perception, enabling corrective action. As the mind gains clarity, intuition becomes stronger and opportunities for wealth become more apparent. The stillness of a clear mind mirrors the smooth surface of a pond, reflecting abundance without distortion and attracting circumstances that align with that clarity. The principle extends to habits and routines as well. Mental and emotional clutter often stems from chaotic lifestyles, poor organization, or scattered attention. By cultivating habits that promote clarity, regular planning, reflection, prioritization, and rest, the mind remains open to the flow of supply. A structured and harmonious inner life translates into an external reality in which wealth is more easily recognized and captured. Just as a well-maintained channel allows water to move without obstruction, disciplined routines enable the natural circulation of abundance to continue uninterrupted. Surroundings influence mental clarity too. The environment, physical, social, and informational, contributes to the mental currents that either block or facilitate wealth. Surrounding oneself with negativity, conflict, or excessive noise clogs the channels, while environments that inspire, uplift, and support clarity enhance them. Careful attention to the quality of inputs, books, media, relationships, and experiences ensures that the mind remains receptive. Clearing thought involves both internal work and external awareness, creating a holistic space in which supply can flow freely. Faith and expectancy are powerful allies in this process. Belief in the availability of abundance, trust in the mechanisms of supply, and confidence in one's own worth remove unseen barriers. The mind cannot receive fully if it doubts the legitimacy of wealth or fears inadequacy. Faith acts like a cleansing current, sweeping away fear and reinforcing the openness required for prosperity. Expectancy keeps the channels alert, sensitive, and ready to receive, turning potential opportunities into realized blessings. Every act of generosity, kindness, and constructive contribution further clears mental channels. When one gives without fear, the energy of supply is reinforced. The mind, knowing that circulation brings return, releases tension and opens space for new ideas, resources, and opportunities. The more one aligns thought with the principles of flow and clarity, the more seamless the movement of wealth becomes. Each thought, word, and action either contributes to clarity or adds sediment to the channels, and conscious attention to this process ensures the unrestricted flow of supply. To clear thought is to harmonize with the natural law of abundance. The universe flows through mental channels, responding to openness, gratitude, forgiveness, focus, and trust. When these channels are clear, wealth moves as easily as water through an unobstructed river. Blocked thought creates scarcity, resistance, and frustration. Cleared thought creates opportunity, energy, and the effortless arrival of prosperity. A mind uncluttered is like a spring flowing freely, drawing from the infinite reservoir and nourishing life wherever it reaches. Gratitude aligns with the tide of increase. The simple act of recognizing and appreciating what is already present in life opens the mind and heart to receive far more than the eye can see. Gratitude is a powerful magnet for abundance because it shifts focus from scarcity to sufficiency, from lack to plenty. When the mind dwells on what it already possesses, it acknowledges the fullness of life, and in doing so, it signals the universe that it is ready to receive more. The energy of thankfulness is not passive. It is a dynamic force that attracts opportunities, wealth, and blessings in ways that logical planning or effort alone cannot achieve. The principle of gratitude is evident in nature. Trees, animals, and the seasons perform their work in harmony, responding to the cycles of life without complaint, without resistance. The soil receives rainfall, the sun nourishes plants, and each element contributes its part, creating abundance naturally. Humans, too, are designed to thrive when they recognize the gifts that already exist. By focusing on what is present rather than what is missing, the mind removes resistance and opens channels through which the flow of prosperity can move unhindered. Appreciation becomes a key that unlocks doors previously unseen. Gratitude transforms perception. When one sees each circumstance, person, and possession as a gift, the mind shifts from judgment to acceptance, from limitation to possibility. A grateful mindset perceives the hidden opportunities in challenges, the lessons in setbacks, and the value in simple moments. Wealth flows more easily to those who see abundance in the present, for they are no longer creating mental blocks of resistance or fear. Each expression of gratitude strengthens the connection to the universal supply, making it easier for resources to arrive and circulate. Daily practice of gratitude amplifies its effect. Taking time to consciously acknowledge blessings, whether large or small, trains the mind to expect more good in life. A simple routine of reflection, journaling, or spoken acknowledgement creates an internal rhythm that aligns with the law of increase. The mind begins to focus on solutions, possibilities, and the richness already present, rather than on deficits or limitations. This shift in focus alone produces a remarkable change in how abundance manifests, turning potential opportunities into tangible wealth. Gratitude also cultivates faith. When one appreciates what is already available, there is trust that the source of supply is reliable and unending. This faith removes doubt, which is one of the greatest obstacles to wealth. A person who is thankful for what they have implicitly trusts that more is available and that the universe will respond to alignment with its laws. The energy of faith reinforces the power of gratitude, creating a feedback loop in which expectation and appreciation amplify one another, drawing resources, ideas, and opportunities toward the individual. Even in difficult circumstances, gratitude has transformative power. Life does not always present what is desired immediately, yet focusing on what is present allows one to see avenues of increase that would otherwise be hidden. A challenging situation, when approached with thankfulness for the lessons it brings, becomes a stepping stone rather than a barrier. This mindset releases energy trapped in frustration or fear and redirects it toward creative solutions and fruitful action. Wealth is not merely the accumulation of money, it includes insight, opportunity, relationships, and experiences, all of which are attracted more readily when gratitude governs thought. The act of giving naturally flows from gratitude. When one appreciates the abundance already present, there is an impulse to share it with others. This sharing, in turn, circulates wealth and reinforces the principle that prosperity is not finite but dynamic. The energy of giving multiplies what is received, creating a flow of abundance that continually renews itself. Gratitude fuels this process by reminding the giver of the richness that already exists, allowing generosity to come from a place of fullness rather than fear. Each act of giving based on thankfulness becomes a channel through which more wealth is drawn into life. Gratitude also aligns the mind with opportunities that might otherwise go unnoticed. When a person is focused on appreciation, they become more sensitive to possibilities, relationships, and solutions that can enhance prosperity. A grateful mind notices doors opening, ideas arriving, and people willing to assist. In contrast, a mind that dwells on lack often misses these subtle signals, trapped in a narrow perspective. Thankfulness expands perception, enabling one to recognize and seize opportunities that are aligned with their desires and the natural flow of increase. In addition, gratitude enhances resilience. Life is full of uncertainties, and the path to wealth often involves challenges. Those who maintain gratitude remain grounded and centered even in the face of setbacks. By focusing on what is working and what is already abundant, the mind avoids being overwhelmed by obstacles and instead channels energy toward constructive action. This mental state is fertile for wealth creation because it combines optimism, focus, and alignment with the laws of abundance, producing outcomes that are both unexpected and substantial. Gratitude also attracts cooperation and assistance. People naturally respond to those who express genuine appreciation. Relationships flourish when gratitude is expressed, creating networks of support and collaboration that contribute to prosperity. The energy of thankfulness communicates openness and receptivity, inviting others to participate in the flow of abundance. In both personal and professional life, gratitude strengthens bonds, builds trust, and enhances the exchange of resources, all of which are essential for the continuous increase of wealth. The spiritual dimension of gratitude cannot be overlooked. Thankfulness aligns the individual with the infinite source of abundance. By acknowledging and appreciating what already exists, the mind harmonizes with the universal law that supplies all needs. This alignment opens channels that are otherwise blocked by fear, doubt, or attachment. The act of gratitude itself carries an energetic frequency that resonates with the rhythm of increase, drawing more of the same into the individual's life. The more consistently gratitude is practiced, the more natural and effortless the flow of wealth becomes, as the mind, heart, and spirit move in harmony with the principles of universal supply. Gratitude, when cultivated as a habitual attitude, transforms life into a magnet for wealth in all forms. It is not merely a polite acknowledgement, but a powerful tool that clears mental, emotional, and spiritual channels for abundance. Each expression of thankfulness reinforces the belief in sufficiency, encourages giving, enhances perception, and strengthens resilience. It creates a fertile environment where opportunities, resources, and ideas can enter freely, multiply, and return, feeding a cycle of continual increase. The practice of gratitude is therefore both a conscious discipline and a natural state that aligns the individual with the infinite tide of supply. ensuring that wealth is recognized, welcomed, and fully received. Every moment spent in genuine appreciation strengthens the alignment with the law of increase. The mind trained to see gifts in all circumstances is naturally open to new forms of wealth. It notices opportunities where others see obstacles, perceives solutions where others see problems, and attracts the support, guidance, and resources necessary to transform potential into reality. The energy of gratitude moves through thought, action, and intention, creating a dynamic flow that continuously reinforces and expands prosperity. The ripple effect of gratitude extends far beyond the individual. Families, communities, and even broader networks benefit when people practice thankfulness, for the energy of appreciation generates cooperation, kindness, and resourcefulness. Gratitude not only attracts wealth to the individual, but enhances the environment in which abundance can multiply. The act of recognizing blessings, expressing thanks, and sharing generously aligns one with a universal rhythm of increase, making prosperity both inevitable and continuous.
Picture a garden after a long drought, soil hardened, roots waiting, air filled with thirst. Then without struggle, rain begins. The ground does not chase the water, it simply opens and receives. We continue our reading of The Game of Life and How to Play It by Florence Scovel Shinn with the second chapter, The Law of Prosperity. We'll keep it simple, each chapter heard in full. And if at any point you want a gentle step, a free optional one-page companion sheet waits in the description. There when you're ready. Now the central principle of this chapter comes into view. The heart of this chapter is simple. Prosperity is circulation, not clutching. Give in faith, receive in peace. Every thought of fear tightens the hand, but trust loosens the grip. Every act of faith sets the current moving, and what flows out finds its way home. So let the reading begin. Yea, the Almighty shall be thy defense, and thou shalt have plenty of silver. One of the greatest messages given to the race through the scriptures is that God is man's supply, and that man can release, through his spoken word, all that belongs to him by divine right. He must, however, have perfect faith in his spoken word. Isaiah said, "My word shall not return unto me void, but shall accomplish that whereunto it is sent." We know now that words and thoughts are a tremendous vibratory force, ever molding man's body and affairs. A woman came to me in great distress and said she was to be sued on the 15th of the month for $3,000. She knew no way of getting the money and was in despair. I told her God was her supply, and that there is a supply for every demand. So I spoke the word. I gave thanks that the woman would receive $3,000 at the right time in the right way. I told her she must have perfect faith and act her perfect faith. The 15th came, but no money had materialized. She called me on the phone and asked what she was to do. I replied, "It is Saturday, so they won't sue you today. Your part is to act rich, thereby showing perfect faith that you will receive it by Monday." She asked me to lunch with her to keep up her courage. When I joined her at a restaurant, I said, "This is no time to economize. Order an expensive luncheon. Act as if you had already received the $3,000. All things whatsoever ye ask in prayer, believing, ye shall receive." You must act as if you had already received. The next morning she called me on the phone and asked me to stay with her during the day. I said no, you are divinely protected, and God is never too late. In the evening, she phoned again, greatly excited, and said, "My dear, a miracle has happened. I was sitting in my room this morning when the doorbell rang. I said to the maid, 'Don't let anyone in.' The maid, however, looked out the window and said, 'It's your cousin with the long white beard.' So I said, 'Call him back. I would like to see him.' He was just turning the corner when he heard the maid's voice, and he came back. He talked for about an hour, and just as he was leaving, he said, 'Oh, by the way, how are finances?' I told him I needed the money, and he said, 'Why, my dear, I will give you $3,000 the first of the month.' I didn't like to tell him I was going to be sued. What shall I do? I won't receive it till the 1st of the month, and I must have it tomorrow. I said, I'll keep on treating. I said, Spirit is never too late. I give thanks she has received the money on the invisible plane, and that it manifests on time. The next morning, her cousin called her up and said, Come to my office this morning and I will give you the money. That afternoon, she had $3,000 to her credit in the bank and wrote checks as rapidly as her excitement would permit. If one asks for success and prepares for failure, he will get the situation he has prepared for. For example, a man came to me asking me to speak the word that a certain debt would be wiped out. I found he spent his time planning what he would say to the man when he did not pay his bill, thereby neutralizing my words. He should have seen himself paying the debt. We have a wonderful illustration of this in the Bible, relating to the 3 kings who were in the desert, without water for their men and horses. They consulted the prophet Elisha, who gave them this astonishing message. Thus saith the Lord, Ye shall not see wind, neither shall ye see rain. Yet make this valley full of ditches. Man must prepare for the thing he has asked for, when there isn't the slightest sign of it in sight. For example, a woman found it necessary to look for an apartment during the year when there was a great shortage of apartments in New York. It was considered almost an impossibility, and her friends were sorry for her and said, Isn't it too bad? You'll have to store your furniture and live in a hotel. She replied, You needn't feel sorry for me. I'm a Superman, and I'll get an apartment. She spoke the words, Infinite Spirit, open the way for the right apartment. She knew there was a supply for every demand, and that she was unconditioned, working on the spiritual plane, and that one with God is a majority. She had contemplated buying new blankets when the tempter, the adverse thought or reasoning mind, suggested, Don't buy the blankets. Perhaps after all you won't get an apartment and you will have no use for them. She promptly replied to herself, I'll dig my ditches by buying the blankets. So she prepared for the apartment, acted as though she already had it. She found one in a miraculous way, and it was given to her although there were over 200 other applicants. The blankets showed active faith. It is needless to say that the ditches dug by the 3 kings in the desert were filled to overflowing. Getting into the spiritual swing of things is no easy matter for the average person. The adverse thoughts of doubt and fear surge from the subconscious. They are the army of the aliens, which must be put to flight. This explains why it is so often darkest before the dawn. A big demonstration is usually preceded by tormenting thoughts. Having made a statement of high spiritual truth, one challenges the old beliefs in the subconscious, and error is exposed to be put out. This is the time when one must make his affirmations of truth repeatedly, and rejoice and give thanks that he has already received. Before ye call, I shall answer. This means that every good and perfect gift is already man's, awaiting his recognition. Man can only receive what he sees himself receiving. The children of Israel were told that they could have all the land they could see. This is true of every man. He has only the land within his own mental vision. Every great work, every big accomplishment has been brought into manifestation through holding to the vision, and often just before the big achievement comes apparent failure and discouragement. The children of Israel, when they reached the promised land, were afraid to go in, for they said it was filled with giants, who made them feel like grasshoppers. And there we saw the giants, and we were in our own sight as grasshoppers. This is almost every man's experience. However, the one who knows spiritual law is undisturbed by appearance, and rejoices while he is yet in captivity. That is, he holds to his vision and gives thanks that the end is accomplished. He has received. Jesus Christ gave a wonderful example of this. He said to his disciples, Say not ye, there are yet 4 months, and then cometh the harvest. Behold, I say unto you, lift up your eyes and look on the fields, for they are ripe already to harvest. His clear vision pierced the world of matter, and he saw clearly the 4th-dimensional world, things as they really are, perfect and complete in divine mind. So man must ever hold the vision of his journey's end and demand the manifestation of that which he has already received. It may be his perfect health, love, supply, self-expression, home, or friends. They are all finished and perfect ideas registered in divine mind, man's own superconscious mind, and must come through him, not to him. For example, a man came to me asking for treatments for success. It was imperative that he raise within a certain time $50,000 for his business. The time limit was almost up when he came to me in despair. No one wanted to invest in his enterprise, and the bank had flatly refused a loan. I replied, "I suppose you lost your temper while at the bank, therefore your power. You can control any situation if you first control yourself." "Go back to the bank," I added, "and I will treat." My treatment was, "You are identified in love with the spirit of everyone connected with the bank. Let the divine idea come out of this situation." He replied, "Woman, you are talking about an impossibility. Tomorrow is Saturday, the bank closes at 12, and my train won't get me there until 10, and the time limit is up tomorrow, and anyway, they won't do it. It's too late." I replied, "God doesn't need any time and is never too late. With him all things are possible." I added, "I don't know anything about business, but I know all about God." He replied, "It all sounds fine when I sit here listening to you, but when I go out it's terrible." He lived in a distant city, and I did not hear from him for a week. Then came a letter. It read, "You were right. I raised the money and will never again doubt the truth of all that you told me." I saw him a few weeks later and I said, "What happened? You evidently had plenty of time after all." He replied, "My train was late, and I got there just 15 minutes to 12. I walked into the bank quietly and said, 'I have come for the loan,' and they gave it to me without a question." It was the last 15 minutes of the time allotted to him. An infinite spirit was not too late. In this instance, the man could never have demonstrated alone. He needed someone to help him hold to the vision. This is what one man can do for another. Jesus Christ knew the truth of this when he said, "If two of you shall agree on earth as touching anything that they shall ask, it shall be done for them of my Father which is in heaven." One gets too close to his own affairs and becomes doubtful and fearful. The friend or healer sees clearly the success, health, or prosperity, and never wavers, because he is not close to the situation. It is much easier to demonstrate for someone else than for oneself, so a person should not hesitate to ask for help if he feels himself wavering. A keen observer of life once said, "No man can fail if some one person sees him successful." Such is the power of the vision, and many a great man has owed his success to a wife, or sister, or a friend who believed in him and held without wavering to the perfect pattern. That is Chapter 2. The second great principle of the manual has now been revealed. Prosperity is circulation, not clutching. Give in faith, receive in peace. Simply allowing this rhythm to echo within you is an act of abundance. The seed of this truth has been planted in your soul. Let the words rest. When you want to embody them, one simple practice awaits below. Whether you simply listen or actively practice, remember the truth you received today. May you walk with open hands and watch the river answer in perfect time.
Every word you speak is a seed cast upon the fertile soil of the unseen. The soil does not question the seed, it simply brings forth after its kind. If you plant words of lack, want, and limitation, the harvest is barren. But if you speak the living psalm of abundance, prosperity rises to meet you like a golden dawn. The spoken word is a law unto itself, swift and sure, carrying the vibration of what is believed in the secret chambers of the heart. When one understands this, poverty dissolves like mist before the sun. For wealth is already present, waiting only for recognition. The psalm is a living current, not mere words on a page. It is a declaration, a key that unlocks hidden treasure, a reminder that the universe is a storehouse without walls. When spoken with faith, the psalm stirs the substance of spirit into form, drawing opportunities, supply, and unexpected blessings. One need not struggle or strive in anxious labor, for the psalm announces, "All that I need is already prepared." The moment the word is spoken with conviction, the unseen begins to shape itself into visible wealth. Many believe wealth is a distant prize, something to be pursued with restless effort, yet true riches are as close as one's breath. Every time you affirm the psalm, you align with the divine order of plenty. Just as a river does not question its flow, abundance does not question its giver. It simply moves, replenishes, and restores. The psalm is the reminder that you are heir to infinite supply, not through toil, but through alignment with the law of good. Words of power must not be spoken idly. They are instruments of creation, carriers of life. The psalm, when spoken aloud, commands substance to arrange itself into new channels. Closed doors swing open, forgotten debts are cleared, and gifts appear in unexpected places. Nothing is withheld from the one who speaks with unwavering faith. Wealth is not taken, but released. It is not earned, but realized. The psalm is the password that unlocks what was always yours. When fear whispers its lie of lack, the psalm speaks louder, declaring that the storehouses of heaven are overflowing. Fear crumbles before the rhythm of truth. Each line of the psalm is a chisel, breaking down the walls of doubt until only freedom remains. You need not wonder if the law will work. It cannot fail. Just as the seed must sprout, so must the psalm manifest. To speak this psalm is to command the wealth of the invisible into the visible. The voice is the vessel, the word is the command, and faith is the fire that makes substance obey. The psalm is not a plea, but a decree. You are not begging the universe for crumbs, you are affirming the banquet already laid before you. Wealth is not outside of you. It is you, and the psalm is the mirror that reveals it. Words are seeds that manifest wealth, and every thought that takes form upon the lips is a creative act that goes forth to prepare its own harvest. The universe is obedient to vibration, and the spoken word is the highest instrument of vibration available to humankind. It is not mere sound, it is substance clothed in tone, carrying the very blueprint of belief into the invisible. When one begins to understand that words are not casual, not idle, not empty, but containers of life and power, then the practice of speech becomes a sacred art, for the word spoken today becomes the experience of tomorrow. Just as no gardener sows thorns and expects roses, so no soul can sow words of lack and expect riches. Every utterance is a seed dropped into the fertile soil of the subconscious and the creative ethers, and those ethers cannot help but bring forth after their kind. If a man rises each day saying, "I cannot afford this, I never have enough, life is hard," then those words plant roots deep into the soil of reality. The invisible hears no jest, it does not weigh intention, it responds only to vibration. The seed of not enough must sprout into experiences of insufficiency, and the more the words are watered with emotion, the stronger the crop of limitation becomes. The harvest may arrive in delayed wages, unexpected bills, dwindling resources, or opportunities that slip through the fingers. It is not punishment, it is law, for the soil must yield what is sown. But if the same lips begin to sow words of abundance, the entire garden of life shifts. When one declares, "I am rich in every way, I walk in divine supply, money comes to me freely and easily," the ethers rearrange themselves to match the vibration of those seeds. New ideas come like sudden rays of light, doors open that were previously invisible, and people appear bearing gifts, assistance, and resources. The soil of spirit does not delay its harvest, it begins at once to press out into form whatever seed is dropped into it. Words are seeds not only because they hold vibration, but because they carry faith, and faith is the invisible water that nourishes the unseen. A word spoken with doubt is a seed cast on stony ground, but a word spoken with certainty is planted deep in rich soil, where nothing can hinder its growth. When one repeatedly affirms wealth with faith, the very cells of the body resonate with prosperity. The mind becomes attuned to opportunities, and the heart becomes magnetic to supply. The outer world merely reflects the abundance that has already been spoken within. One may look at the world and see many reasons to speak lack. Yet the creative soul must resist the temptation of appearances. Appearances are but shadows of old seeds, old words spoken in ignorance or fear. To dwell upon them and speak them again is to replant them for another season. Instead, the wise gardener turns away from the barren field and sows new words, words filled with the fragrance of riches, wholeness, and freedom. The harvest cannot fail, for the soil never resists the seed. Words of wealth have a peculiar strength because they are aligned with truth. The essence of life is abundance, for nature multiplies without effort. One apple contains countless seeds, one stalk of wheat produces many more, and the ocean does not measure its waves. To speak of wealth is to align with the eternal pattern of plenty, while to speak of lack is to deny the very order of creation. That is why words of abundance are so powerful. They are not invented fantasies, but echoes of the divine law that all supply is infinite and ever renewing. When words are spoken, the vibration enters not only the outer world, but also the innermost consciousness. The subconscious mind receives every statement as a command and goes to work to bring it into reality. If one says continually, "I am always short of money," the subconscious accepts it and begins arranging circumstances to confirm it. But if one declares, "Money flows to me like a river, I am surrounded by prosperity, I am rich in every direction," the subconscious likewise obeys, drawing situations, people, and opportunities to validate the command. It is as though the subconscious is the soil and the word is the seed. Whatever is sown must sprout. The practice of speaking wealth must be constant, deliberate, and filled with conviction. Just as a farmer does not scatter a handful of seed and expect a full harvest, but sows carefully, day after day, so must the seeker of prosperity sow words of wealth continually. Each affirmation is a seed dropped into the earth of spirit, and with time, the field will be overflowing. Patience is essential, for no farmer digs up the seed to see if it is growing. He trusts the soil and the law of germination. So too, one must trust the invisible law of words, knowing that each declaration of wealth is already bearing fruit unseen, which will soon press forth into visible reality. There is no scarcity in the universe, there is only misseeding. Too many plant weeds of doubt, fear, and complaint, and then wonder why the field of life appears barren. But the law is impartial, it gives back what is sown. The one who learns to guard his words as carefully as a gardener guards his seed knows that only good can return. To speak of riches, joy, and supply is to plant a garden that cannot fail, for the law of words is unfailing and eternal. Even idle conversation carries creative power. Casual remarks such as, "I am broke," or, "That is too expensive," scatter seeds of poverty upon the soil, and the harvest comes whether one is conscious of planting or not. Therefore, one must discipline the tongue, making it a servant of prosperity rather than a betrayer. The lips must be trained to speak only abundance, and when the temptation of lack arises, one must quickly uproot it with a stronger declaration of supply. In time, the habit of wealth-filled speech becomes second nature, and the field of life flourishes without effort. To understand that words are seeds that manifest wealth is to possess the master key of prosperity. The voice is the sower, the word is the seed, the subconscious is the soil, and life itself is the harvest. There is no accident in riches and no mystery in poverty, each is the outcome of words planted long ago. By changing the seed, one changes the harvest, and by changing the word, one changes the world. The psalm is a decree, not a plea, for to speak a decree is to stand in authority, while to utter a plea is to confess lack of power. The one who decrees knows the law and speaks from alignment with it, declaring what is already true in the unseen until it shapes itself into visible form. A decree is not asking, it is commanding, and command carries the vibration of certainty, while pleading vibrates with doubt. To decree is to acknowledge that the wealth of the universe is already present and awaiting recognition, while to plead is to imagine it distant, withheld or dependent on chance. The psalm spoken as a decree rises with the force of divine law and moves substance into obedience, while the psalm spoken as a plea falls short, for it denies the power that is already at hand. When one decrees, there is no tone of desperation, only the calm assurance of authority. A decree is the voice of one who knows that doors open at the sound of their word, that substance arranges itself at the command of their voice. The decree is not shouted, it is not strained, it is not laden with anxiety. It is spoken with the serene confidence of the king, who speaks to his servants, knowing they will obey. The psalm is this decree, and when spoken rightly, it carries the same energy of command, summoning wealth and supply from the invisible into the visible without question. The plea, on the other hand, is the language of separation. It imagines the source of wealth as distant and reluctant, requiring persuasion. It is like a beggar standing at the gates of abundance, pressing for a crumb, never realizing the gates have already been opened. To plead is to confess ignorance of the law, for the law has never withheld. To decree is to awaken to the truth that abundance is a fact, and that fact is affirmed by words of power. Pleading vibrates with want, decreeing vibrates with possession, and vibration is what molds the invisible into form. The decree is not made in arrogance, but in alignment. It is not the small self-demanding, but the higher self-declaring. It is the voice of divine authority within every soul, speaking the language of certainty. The psalm as decree is the declarations. This is mine by divine right, this is established now. Nothing can hinder it. Such words carry no trace of fear, no shadow of hesitation. They stand as living truth, and the unseen bends to them as trees bend to the wind. When the psalm is spoken as a decree, it does not ask for wealth to appear someday, it calls it forth now. Time collapses under the decree, for the decree recognizes no delay. It does not hope, it knows. It does not wait, it claims. It does not plead for supply, it commands the storehouses of the universe to open. Such words, spoken with unwavering conviction, create conditions that reflect their authority. Checks arrive, opportunities appear, debts are dissolved, and doors open where there were none. The decree carries creative energy because it is spoken as law. Law does not bargain, it does not ask permission, it does not hesitate. The law simply is, and the decree spoken in alignment with it is irresistible. When one decrees wealth, the decree goes forth like lightning, clearing away obstacles, cutting through resistance, and illuminating the path to abundance. No force can oppose it, for it is the vibration of truth spoken into the world of form. To live by decree is to shift from the position of supplicant to sovereign. The supplicant waits, worries, and wonders if their request will be heard. The sovereign decrees and walks forward, knowing the word has already set the unseen into motion. The psalm spoken as decree is the act of sovereignty, the reminder that you are heir to all that is, that nothing can be withheld, that every form of wealth is already prepared. The difference between decree and plea can be heard in the tone of the voice. Pleading trembles, it strains, it seeks. Decreeing resounds, it anchors, it establishes. Pleading hopes, decreeing knows. Pleading vibrates with lack, decreeing vibrates with possession. Pleading creates delay. Decreeing creates manifestation. This is why the psalm must always be spoken as a decree, for only then does it carry the weight of law and the force of creation. The decree transforms consciousness. When one repeatedly declares wealth as already theirs, the mind ceases to vibrate with worry and begins to vibrate with certainty. That certainty draws wealth, for the outer is but a reflection of the inner. A mind that decrees is a mind anchored in abundance. A mind that pleads is a mind still chained to lack. Each decree reshapes the inner landscape, tearing down old beliefs of scarcity and planting new patterns of prosperity. Over time, the habit of decree builds a consciousness so aligned with wealth that it becomes magnetic, drawing riches without effort. Even in the face of appearances, the decree stands. Appearances may show an empty purse, unpaid bills, or dwindling resources, yet the decree speaks louder than sight. It says, "Wealth is mine now, supply is endless. Nothing can hinder my good." To decree in the face of contradiction is to exercise the highest form of faith. And faith of this kind compels the unseen to conform to the word spoken. Pleading, however, only reinforces the appearance, for to plead is to confess belief in lack. The decree denies lack any reality, affirming only the presence of abundance. The psalmist's decree does not wait for proof before speaking. It is the speaking that produces the proof. The decree precedes the evidence. It does not follow it. One does not wait until wealth appears to declare, "I am rich." One decrees it now. And the wealth appears in obedience to the decree. The law works only for those who speak first in faith, not for those who wait to be convinced by sight. The decree is the act of faith itself, and faith is the unseen substance from which wealth is shaped. Thus the psalm, spoken as decree, is the creative act by which wealth is called into form. It is not a request whispered in uncertainty, but a command spoken in authority. It is the voice of alignment, the vibration of truth, the language of possession. Each decree is a key turned in the lock of the invisible, opening doors that pleading could never open. Each decree is a seed of law, planted with certainty, destined to sprout into visible riches. To decree is to know, and to know is to create. Wealth is already present, awaiting recognition. For the supply of life is not something to be created, but something to be revealed. The universe is a boundless storehouse where nothing is lacking, and all that ever was or ever will be already exists in the invisible. The appearance of scarcity is not a fact but a shadow of misbelief, for abundance has never ceased to flow. It is as though riches are waiting at the door, but the eyes are veiled, and the mind imagines an empty street. The moment the veil is lifted, the truth is seen, and what was thought absent is recognized as present, pressing to pour itself into form. Recognition is the key, for no treasure can be used if one does not know it is there. A man may walk across fields filled with gold and diamonds and see only dust if his eyes are dimmed by disbelief. So it is with wealth. The riches are all around, hidden not in the world but in perception. To recognize wealth is to shift consciousness, to declare that supply is not something to be gained, but something to be claimed. The law has already provided, the recognition brings it forth. The mind trained in lack overlooks opportunities, disregards ideas, and rejects blessings, because it cannot see them for what they are. The mind trained in abundance recognizes doors where others see walls, hears guidance where others hear silence, finds prosperity where others find emptiness. Recognition is not passive, it is active seeing. It is the declaration. This is mine by divine right. This is present now, this is flowing already. When such recognition is held, the invisible begins to arrange itself into visible channels. Money arrives in ways unexpected, opportunities arise like sudden spring blossoms, and the very air seems filled with possibility. Wealth does not need to be chased, for chasing implies absence. The deer runs because the hunter pursues, but supply does not run from anyone. It is already here, like the air one breathes. To run after wealth is to confess separation, to declare with every step that it is elsewhere. But to recognize wealth is to breathe it in as naturally as oxygen, to understand that it surrounds, supports, and fills every corner of life. The recognition brings rest, and in rest, the flow of abundance becomes natural. Wealth is already present in the form of ideas. Every fortune began with an idea, a spark in the mind that revealed a new channel of supply. Ideas are wealth, for they are the invisible substance that shapes into riches. When one recognizes that wealth is present in the thought that flashes across the mind, one ceases to belittle inspiration. The smallest idea, when recognized and acted upon, can open a river of prosperity. Recognition transforms ideas from fleeting shadows into golden opportunities. Wealth is also present in relationships, in the connections and associations that are often overlooked. Every person carries within them a potential channel of blessing. And when the consciousness of abundance is held, the right people appear at the right time. Recognition allows one to see each meeting as divine arrangement rather than accident. What looks like a casual encounter becomes the opening of a door. Wealth has always been present in the network of human connections, but without recognition, it lies dormant, unexpressed, unseen. To say wealth is already present is to acknowledge that the substance of prosperity is spiritual, not material. Matter is only the shadow, the final form. The essence is unseen, eternal, and ever-present. Recognition does not create, it reveals. Just as light does not create the room but reveals it, recognition does not create wealth but uncovers what has always been waiting. The psalm that declares abundance awakens the inner eye to see what was hidden, and once seen, it manifests in the visible. The habit of recognition transforms the mind from dwelling on lack to dwelling on sufficiency. Each time one declares, "Wealth is here now. Supply is overflowing, I walk in divine abundance," the consciousness of recognition grows stronger. Slowly, the eyes begin to see what was always present: opportunities that were ignored, talents that lay dormant, gifts that were overlooked. The world becomes rich, not because it has changed, but because perception has shifted to match the truth. Many fail to recognize wealth because they expect it to appear in one form only. They look for money in the bank and ignore the idea in the mind, the contact in the crowd, the inspiration in the silence. Wealth is infinite in form, and recognition must be broad, alert, and receptive. To say, "Wealth is already present," is to open the heart to receive it in any channel, without resistance or narrow expectation. The recognition allows wealth to flow freely, whether through salary, gifts, business, ideas, or unexpected provision. The soil of the universe never ceases to produce, but the harvest depends on recognition. If one insists the field is barren, the crop is overlooked, though it grows in plain sight. Recognition is the farmer who sees the grain ready for harvest and gathers it in. Without recognition, the grain falls to the ground unused, while the farmer still complains of hunger. Life is full of such unrecognized riches. Friendships that could be partnerships, hobbies that could be fortunes, talents that could be professions. Recognition alone turns potential into possession. Wealth is already present because life itself is wealth. To breathe is wealth, to think is wealth, to create is wealth. Every faculty of the soul is a treasure waiting to be recognized. The voice can sing, the hands can build, the mind can invent, the heart can inspire. Within each gift lies the seed of riches, but unless recognized, it lies idle. Recognition awakens the gifts, honors them, and directs them toward fruitful expression. The very act of seeing one's own gifts as wealth opens the way for the world to mirror that wealth in tangible form. Even what appears as limitation often hides wealth. A setback may conceal a lesson that leads to prosperity. A closed door may redirect the path toward greater riches. Recognition transforms obstacles into opportunities, turning stones into stepping stones. Wealth is not absent in adversity, it is merely disguised, awaiting the eye that can see. To the one who recognizes, every condition becomes a channel of supply, every experience a contributor to abundance. Wealth is already present in the eternal now. It is not something to be awaited in the future, for to wait is to postpone recognition. The future never arrives, only the present is real. And in the present, abundance is already given. To affirm wealth in the now is to align with truth, while to defer it is to live in illusion. Recognition happens in the present moment, and in that recognition, the invisible substance of wealth begins to flow visibly. Thus, wealth does not need to be created, pursued, or earned in struggle. It needs only to be recognized. The psalm spoken with authority awakens recognition, and recognition opens the eyes to see riches in every direction. The gold was always in the field, the pearls always in the sea. The treasures always in the heart, but only recognition can gather them into form. Wealth is here, waiting, pressing against the door of consciousness, eager to be claimed. Speaking with faith opens hidden channels, for faith is the unseen bridge between the word and its manifestation. When one speaks without faith, the words scatter like seeds thrown on stony ground, lacking the power to root. But when faith fills the word, it becomes a living decree, a command that calls forth unseen forces into visible supply. Faith is not effort, nor is it strain, it is quiet knowing. A serene conviction that what is spoken already exists in the invisible, and is therefore certain to appear. Every hidden channel of wealth, Every avenue of prosperity, every unseen opportunity waits only for the sound of the words spoken in faith to awaken it into motion. The channels of supply are infinite, yet they are invisible to the one who doubts. Doubt closes the eyes and blinds the heart, leaving only the narrow belief that abundance must arrive through one limited path. Faith, however, opens vision. It allows one to see possibilities where others see nothing, to perceive doors where others perceive walls, to expect rivers where others see deserts. Speaking with faith unlocks these concealed passages, for faith commands the unseen to reveal itself, and the hidden channels spring open as naturally as seeds bursting in the soil after rain. When the lips declare abundance with unwavering faith, the declaration becomes a magnet that draws resources from unexpected places. Money may arrive from forgotten debts repaid, from gifts freely given, from opportunities previously overlooked. The channel does not need to be known by the speaker, it is faith that calls it forth. The invisible arranges the details, aligning people, circumstances, and timing in a perfect sequence. Faith does not ask how, it simply declares, and the how reveals itself. The hidden channels are infinite in number, and faith unlocks the one most suited to the moment. Speaking with faith aligns the vibration of the individual with the vibration of abundance. Words spoken in fear carry the vibration of lack, and lack draws lack. Words spoken in faith carry the vibration of certainty, and certainty draws wealth. The universe responds to vibration, not appearances, and faith is the vibration of truth recognized. To speak in faith is to send forth a current so strong that unseen doors swing open, pathways unfold, and resources flow where once there seemed to be none. Faith transforms the subconscious mind, the silent architect of circumstances. When one speaks words of wealth with faith, the subconscious accepts them as law and begins to reorganize outer life to match the inner decree. Ideas are brought to the surface, connections are drawn, actions are inspired. The subconscious, once filled with doubts and fears, becomes a servant of prosperity under the rule of faith. Hidden channels that were always present but ignored come into view, and wealth flows naturally. Speaking without faith is like knocking on a door without believing anyone is inside. The knock is empty. Speaking with faith is like knocking while knowing the room is already filled with treasures prepared and waiting. The difference is not in the words themselves but in the energy behind them. Faith energizes the word, making it irresistible, while doubt weakens it, leaving it powerless. The psalm spoken with faith is like a key that turns easily in the lock, opening what was once hidden. Faith is not dependent on sight. To wait for visible proof before speaking is not faith but hesitation. Faith speaks in the absence of evidence, knowing the evidence will follow. The hidden channels open because faith calls them into being, not because they were already visible. The farmer plants seed without seeing the harvest, yet his faith in the law of growth compels him to plant. In the same way, speaking with faith is planting words into the fertile soil of spirit, trusting the hidden channels of supply to sprout in their own time. When faith is spoken, fear is silenced. Fear closes channels, sealing them behind walls of doubt and anxiety. Fear insists there is no way, that doors are locked, that provision is scarce. But faith contradicts fear and declares abundance in spite of appearances. That declaration breaks the walls of limitation, forcing hidden channels to reveal themselves. Time and again, those who speak in faith find opportunities opening where none were visible, supply flowing from sources unimagined, and riches arriving in ways that seemed impossible. The act of speaking with faith is also an act of surrender. It is the release of control over how wealth must arrive, combined with absolute certainty that it will arrive. Faith does not dictate the form. It simply knows the supply is inevitable. This surrender allows the infinite intelligence of the universe to select the perfect channel, often one far greater than the limited imagination could design. Hidden channels appear because faith does not bind them, but leaves them free to flow. Faith is contagious, and words spoken with faith influence not only the speaker but all who hear them. A declaration of abundance filled with conviction can inspire others, shift their perception, and create cooperative energy that multiplies opportunities. Hidden channels often open through people, and faith-filled speech awakens those around you to become instruments of provision. One person's certainty can draw forth the generosity, cooperation, and resources of many others, creating a network of abundance where none was visible before. Speaking with faith also dissolves delay. Many believe wealth must take long to appear, that years of effort are required, but faith collapses time. The decree spoken with conviction moves swiftly, aligning conditions in accelerated ways. What would have taken months can arrive in days, what seemed distant can appear at once. The hidden channels were never absent, only concealed, and faith reveals them with sudden clarity. To cultivate the habit of speaking with faith is to live in continual openness to abundance. Each word becomes a seed of certainty, each affirmation a chisel breaking down the walls of limitation. The more one speaks with faith, the more natural it becomes, until doubt loses its hold and abundance flows without hindrance. The hidden channels are not rare exceptions, but the natural order of life, always waiting to be uncovered. Faith is the vision that uncovers them, the voice that commands them, the vibration that draws them into manifestation. Every story of sudden prosperity, every testimony of unexpected supply, carries the same root. Someone spoke with faith. They declared abundance without hesitation. They affirmed provision in spite of appearances. They held their word as truth, and the hidden channels opened. This law is universal, impartial, and unfailing. The psalm, when spoken in faith, is the living decree that turns the invisible key, and the treasures long concealed are brought into light. Fear dissolves before the rhythm of truth, for fear is nothing but the shadow of false belief, a mist with no true substance, and truth is the rising sun that dispels it. When one begins to speak the words of truth with conviction, fear has no choice but to fade, for it cannot endure the vibration of certainty. The rhythm of truth is steady, unbroken, eternal, and when aligned with it, every tremor of fear is stilled. Fear thrives in silence, in the absence of the spoken word of power, but once truth is declared aloud, fear trembles and retreats, for it cannot stand against the law. Fear is the great robber of wealth. It whispers that supply is uncertain, that opportunities are scarce, that doors are closed. It convinces the heart to shrink, the hand to hesitate, the mind to doubt, and in that hesitation, abundance is delayed. But fear has no true authority. It is a liar without foundation. The rhythm of truth once spoken exposes fear for what it is, a hollow echo, an illusion without substance. Truth declares that supply is infinite, that wealth is everywhere present, that channels are unending, and in the steady vibration of that declaration, fear dissolves. The rhythm of truth is not frantic, not hurried, not desperate. It is calm, sure, and continuous, like the beating of a drum that cannot falter. When one speaks truth with consistency, aligning word after word with the law of abundance, the rhythm builds until it becomes the dominant vibration. Fear, which thrives on irregularity and wavering, cannot survive in such a steady flow. The more constant the declaration of truth, the less room remains for the tremors of fear. Fear survives only where belief in separation remains. It feeds on the idea that one is cut off from supply, that wealth must be wrestled from a reluctant universe. The rhythm of truth denies this entirely, affirming instead that all good is already given, already present, already flowing. To speak truth in this way is to stand in the certainty of oneness with abundance. As this rhythm strengthens, fear loses its hold, for it cannot coexist with the awareness of divine supply. The two vibrations are incompatible, and truth always prevails. Fear often disguises itself as caution, prudence, or humility, whispering that it is wiser to expect little than to be disappointed. But truth reveals that such whispers are chains of limitation, keeping the soul bound to lack. When truth is spoken, it declares boldly, "I am one with infinite supply, wealth flows to me without limit, nothing can hinder my good." These words, repeated in rhythm, break the chains of false caution and dissolve the disguise of fear. The steady beat of truth unmasks fear and renders it powerless. The rhythm of truth is not only spoken but felt. It moves through the body, calming nerves, steadying breath, bringing peace to the heart. Fear agitates, tightens, and unsettles, but truth relaxes, expands, and anchors. When truth is declared with faith, the body itself aligns with its rhythm, releasing tension and opening channels of energy. This physical harmony reflects itself outwardly, attracting circumstances that mirror the calm certainty within. Fear can no longer cling to a body and mind attuned to the vibration of truth. Fear creates illusions of delay, convincing the mind that wealth is far away, hidden in some distant future. Truth dissolves this illusion by declaring abundance in the present, affirming that supply exists here and now. The rhythm of truth insists on immediacy, on the eternal now, on the presence of good already at hand. As these words are spoken, fear's projection into the future collapses, and the present moment reveals its hidden riches. The rhythm of truth also transforms perception. Fear clouds the eyes, making opportunities invisible and blessings appear as threats. Truth clears the vision, revealing doors where walls once seemed to stand. What fear called impossible, truth calls inevitable. What fear named scarcity, truth names abundance. This shift of perception comes not from outer change, but from the steady declaration of truth, spoken until the rhythm overrides the old patterns of fear. Speaking truth with rhythm builds momentum. Each declaration strengthens the last, creating a rising current of certainty. Fear may resist at first, clinging to old patterns, but as the rhythm continues, it loses strength, unable to withstand the steady tide. Eventually, the current of truth grows so strong that fear can no longer re-enter, for the vibration of abundance has become the dominant song. The soul becomes anchored in wealth consciousness, and fear's voice fades into silence. Fear is unstable, ever-changing, shifting from one worry to the next, but truth is unchanging, eternal, the same yesterday, today, and forever. When the psalm is spoken with faith, its words carry this eternal rhythm, reminding the soul of its unbreakable connection to supply. Fear dissolves in the face of such constancy, for it cannot endure where there is no wavering. The psalm becomes a steady drumbeat, and fear, unable to match its rhythm, falls away. Even in the midst of appearances that seem frightening, truth spoken with rhythm dissolves fear. The outer world may present lack, debt, or limitation, but the declaration of truth insists. These appearances are shadows, the substance of wealth is already here. As these words are spoken, the vibration shifts, and fear is stripped of its disguise. The appearances begin to change, aligning themselves with truth, and the hidden abundance emerges into view. Fear cannot resist this transformation, for it has no true reality of its own. Fear is a parasite, living only on the energy of belief. It has no life apart from the attention given to it. The rhythm of truth starves fear by withdrawing attention and redirecting it to abundance. Each declaration of truth is a withdrawal of energy from fear and an investment of energy into supply. Over time, fear withers from neglect, while truth grows stronger and more vibrant. The rhythm becomes natural, and fear loses the ability to reattach itself. Fear whispers of limitation, but truth sings of expansion. Fear contracts the heart, but truth expands it. Fear binds, but truth liberates. When one chooses to align with the rhythm of truth, speaking words of abundance and certainty with steady conviction, fear dissolves naturally, as darkness dissolves before light. The rhythm itself is the power, and the more one yields to it, the more fear is rendered powerless. In every life, fear attempts to stand guard over hidden treasures, but the rhythm of truth is the key that unlocks the gate. Once spoken consistently, it reveals that the guard was only a shadow, a phantom with no authority. The treasures of wealth, long hidden, shine forth, and fear vanishes like smoke in the wind. The rhythm of truth is the eternal assurance that abundance is already given, that nothing can oppose it, that no fear can endure where truth is spoken with conviction.
The most powerful manifestors don't talk about what they're creating. They don't announce their miracles before they arrive. They move in silence, and money, love, and opportunities follow them effortlessly. Florence Scovel Shinn said, "The invisible forces are working for you when you hold your peace." And that is why the spiritually wealthy keep certain things hidden. Not from fear, but from power. Today, I will reveal the 7 things the spiritually wealthy never share while manifesting. Because they know the moment they speak too soon, the energy begins to leak. Beloved, there is a reason why the spiritually wealthy do not announce what they are manifesting. It is not fear, it is wisdom. They understand a sacred truth, that every dream, before it blooms, must grow unseen. It must be nourished in silence, guarded by faith, and protected from the noise of the world. You see, every desire is a seed. When you plant a seed in the ground, you do not dig it up each day to show it to others. You do not rush the soil or expose it to the wind. You trust the process of darkness, of quiet, of unseen growth. And manifestation works the same way. When you speak of your dreams too soon, you invite the world's opinions into your soil. Are you sure? That's impossible. Every silent doubt from another heart becomes a shadow over your field. And a shadow can block your light if you let it. Florence Scovel Shinn said, "The invisible forces are working for you when you hold your peace." That means silence is not weakness. It is spiritual strategy. Because the moment you speak of your desire prematurely, you begin to hand it over to the collective vibration of others. And not everyone will protect what you are planting. The spiritually wealthy know this. That is why they don't announce. They don't explain. They don't prove. They simply become. They water their dreams with prayer, not conversation. They nurture their goals with gratitude, not gossip. They keep their manifestation sealed in faith until heaven makes them visible. Beloved, I want you to hear this truth. Deeply, your desire is not a wish. It is a prophecy. When you receive an idea, a vision, an urge, a dream, it is not fantasy. It is divine communication. The idea is heaven's way of saying, this already exists in the spiritual realm. Now prepare for it. And your preparation is silence. Because silence says, I trust the unseen. You do not tell the world what God whispered to you in secret. You do not expose what the divine asked you to carry in faith. Because the moment you speak it to those who do not understand the law, you invite confusion to interpret your miracle. And confusion delays creation. The spiritually wealthy are not secretive out of pride. They are secretive out of alignment. They know that manifestation is not about impressing people. It is about obeying principles. They know that energy leaks through explanation. That faith shrinks under scrutiny. That power fades when handled by too many hands. So they guard their dreams as holy treasures. They keep their intentions between themselves and divine mind. They walk quietly with purpose. And the world, one day, sees the result and calls it steady success. But heaven calls it steady faith. Say softly now, my dreams are safe in silence. Again. My dreams are safe in silence. Every time you speak those words, you seal your energy. You become the guardian of your own prophecy. You stop needing approval and start radiating assurance. Because you no longer need the world to believe in what heaven already approved. Florence said, faith never argues or fights, it simply knows. So the next time you feel tempted to explain your plans, pause. Feel the strength in stillness. Remember that peace is proof of trust. And that your silence is a sanctuary where your miracles take shape. Beloved, every great creation in history began in silence. The artist paints before the world sees. The builder designs before the city rises. The universe itself was formed out of quiet intention before the first word. Let there be light. Creation begins in the unseen. It is born in the void, and the void is sacred. When you protect your desires, you protect your vibration. And when your vibration remains pure, manifestation happens effortlessly. You will not need to chase. You will not need to convince. Because your silence becomes magnetic. It says to the universe, I am ready, I am steady, I am sure, and heaven loves certainty. You see, the poor in spirit rush to share, because they crave validation. But the wealthy in spirit stay silent, because they crave manifestation. They understand that validation is temporary, but vibration is eternal. And when you choose vibration over validation, miracles become your normal. Say softly now, I am becoming quietly wealthy. Again, becoming quietly wealthy. Let those words echo within you, because every moment you keep your desire sacred, its energy expands. Every time you choose silence over fear, your frequency rises, and soon, without announcement or noise, what you prayed for will appear. Naturally, gracefully, beautifully. The world will call it sudden. You will know it was silent. Florence would remind you, never violate the law of secrecy when creating in the invisible. So honor the silence. Protect the seed. Let your roots grow deep before showing your flower. For the spiritually wealthy know, what you protect multiplies, and what you expose too soon dissolves. So today, beloved, walk with calm certainty. Do not rush. Do not prove. Hold your desires close like sacred gems. Smile when people ask what you're working on and whisper inside, something heaven and I are creating together. Because it is not their understanding that grows your dream. It is your faith, your peace, your silence. Say softly now, as your decree, I trust the unseen. My dreams grow in silence. The universe remembers my intention, and it will bloom in perfect timing, under grace and in divine order. And so it is. Beloved, every truly wealthy soul understands this sacred truth. What you picture in your mind is a divine instruction to the universe. Your imagination is not fantasy. It is prophecy. And this is why the spiritually wealthy guard the details of their vision with reverence and silence. Florence Scovel Shinn said, "Man can only receive what he sees himself receiving." But she also warned, do not discuss your affairs with anyone. Because the moment you expose your inner image to minds that do not understand faith, you dilute its purity. The spiritually wealthy know that every mental picture is a seed of reality. And not all soil is fertile enough to protect it. Your vision is your spiritual architecture. Every image you hold is a design drafted in the invisible world. The walls, the windows, the foundation, they are built through your focus, through your emotion, through your belief. And until that house of creation is ready to appear in the physical, you must keep its blueprint safe from the winds of doubt. Beloved, when you tell someone your vision too soon, they might smile. But silently, they might question. They might not mean harm, but their vibration of disbelief touches your energy field. And because thought is magnetic, even the smallest doubt can tangle your signal. So the spiritually wealthy say little and imagine much. They speak less and create more. They know that manifestation is not a public event. It is a private ceremony. Their vision boards are not for display. They are for devotion. Their visualization time is not performance. It is partnership with infinite mind. When they close their eyes, they are entering heaven's design studio, crafting miracles line by line with emotion as ink and belief as blueprint. Florence said, impress the subconscious with perfect pictures of success. That word, impress, is sacred. It means to press upon, to mark deeply. So every image you hold impresses your subconscious mind. And your subconscious, being obedient to spiritual law, goes to work manifesting what it was shown. But if you allow conflicting opinions, fears, or comparisons to enter, the picture blurs. And a blurred image creates a delayed manifestation. Beloved, the rich in spirit understand clarity is wealth. They don't waste their mental cinema on fear. They don't replay scenes of loss or failure. They hold one image, peaceful, prosperous, perfect, and they live inside it. They walk as though that image were already true, because in divine mind, it is. Say softly now, I live inside the picture of my prosperity. Again, I live inside the picture of my prosperity. Every time you speak those words, your mind begins to merge with your vision. Your nervous system accepts abundance as familiar. Your heart relaxes into expectancy, and the universe, like a faithful servant, begins to arrange itself around your picture. You see, beloved, spiritually wealthy people do not share the details of their vision because they know energy must concentrate before it expands. If you keep adjusting or explaining, you scatter your focus. If you protect and trust, you intensify it. Creation happens through intensity of belief, not volume of words. Your picture does not need permission, it needs power. And power grows in privacy. So when you visualize, do it quietly. Feel it deeply. Picture yourself already there, not wishing but living. Smell the air of that new reality. Hear the sounds of peace. Feel the warmth of security. Let your senses participate in your miracle. That is how the spiritually wealthy pray. They don't beg. They broadcast. They don't ask. They align. They know that the mind that imagines wealth is already one with the wealth imagined. Florence said, "Man's word is his wand, filled with magic and power. But I tell you, beloved, his picture is his prophecy. When you hold an image long enough, it begins to breathe. It gains magnetism. It gathers substance. It becomes a living reality waiting for permission to appear. So don't expose it to noise. Protect your mental movie until it's ready for premiere. When people ask what you're manifesting, smile gently and say, 'Something wonderful is unfolding.' That answer protects your energy. It satisfies curiosity without surrendering your power. Say softly now, 'My vision is sacred. My focus is wealth.' Again, 'My vision is sacred. My focus is wealth.' You are now behaving like the spiritually rich, the ones who build realities through inner sight, not outer chatter. They are not louder than others. They are lighter. They live in quiet certainty, while the world shouts confusion. And that certainty is what makes them magnetic. Remember, beloved, your subconscious is like fertile ground. Whatever image you plant in it grows. Plant peace, and you harvest stability. Plant prosperity, and you harvest opportunity. Plant doubt, and weeds will rise. So keep your field clean. Keep your focus pure. Keep your faith private until the fruit appears. Because when you protect your picture, heaven paints the rest. The color, the timing, the form. All handled by divine design. Your only work is to see clearly and believe completely. Florence said, "The game of life is a game of boomerangs. Man's thoughts, deeds, and words return to him with astonishing accuracy. And your images, beloved, are those boomerangs. Send out only the ones you wish to receive. So close your eyes and whisper softly, 'I hold my vision in divine secrecy. My images are blessed. My pictures are pure. And what I see within, heaven reveals without, under grace, in perfect ways.' Then release the picture to infinite mind. No worry, no doubt, no need to tell anyone. Just peace. Because the spiritually wealthy know, what you see in silence today becomes what the world sees tomorrow. And so it is. Beloved, the spiritually wealthy understand that manifestation is not an event. It is a rhythm. It is not something they do once and forget. It is a way of living, breathing, and thinking. Their wealth, but not just on ideas, but on spiritual practices that keep their vibration clear, their faith steady, and their connection with divine mind open. But here's their secret: they do these things quietly. Florence Scovel Shinn said, "Prayer is telephoning to God, and intuition is God telephoning to you." The spiritually wealthy live by that law every single day. They make time to call the divine, not through loud rituals or public performance, but through silent alignment. Their daily practices are private conversations between their soul and infinite mind. They do not post their prayers. They do not boast about their discipline. Because they know that the moment the sacred becomes a show, the power begins to fade. Their morning begins not with noise, but with knowing. Before the world wakes up, they are already aligned. They rise in quiet gratitude. They whisper, "Thank you for this day. Thank you that supply flows freely. Thank you that I am guided, guarded, and grounded." And because gratitude is their first language, abundance becomes their natural response. Beloved, you will not find them scrolling through fear. The moment they open their eyes, you will find them listening to peace. Because they know the first few moments of the morning are the most magnetic. The subconscious is open. The veil between thought and creation is thin. And what they impress in that silence shapes the entire day. Florence said, "Man's word is his wand." So the spiritually wealthy begin their morning speaking life. They declare, "Everything I need comes to me easily and freely. I live under grace, and all that belongs to me by divine right appears now." They repeat until their heart believes it, because they know repetition is not begging, it is programming. Every word is a new command to the subconscious, and the subconscious never argues. It only obeys. Their prayer time is not about asking. It is about aligning. They don't say, "Please make it happen." They say, "Thank you that it already has." They live by faith that what exists in the invisible will soon appear in the visible, under grace, in perfect ways. They might meditate quietly, not as escape but as access. For meditation to them is not emptiness. It is conversation. It is the moment where divine instruction enters their awareness. Sometimes, they receive a nudge, an idea, a feeling, and they act on it without hesitation. They don't explain it. They don't debate it. They trust it. Because they know intuition is the divine's reply to their prayer. Beloved, their spiritual practice may look simple from the outside, but inwardly, it moves heaven. Because consistency builds vibration, and vibration builds reality. They don't wait for a crisis to pray. They pray daily, so when challenge arises, they are already strong. Their peace is their preparation. Say softly now, "My peace prepares my prosperity." Again, "My peace prepares my prosperity." Every day. The spiritually wealthy do something else the world often forgets. They protect their energy after their rituals. They don't step out of meditation and into chaos. They stay in a bubble of stillness, letting the vibration of prayer settle into the aura. Because right after spiritual practice, the aura is wide open, luminous, sensitive. It is like wet paint. It must not be touched by negativity. They guard that silence as sacred ground. They don't gossip, complain, or compare. They simply remain grateful. Florence said, "You must be careful of your moods and feelings, for there is always someone trying to enter your garden. That garden is your consciousness. And the spiritually wealthy do not let uninvited thoughts trample their flowers. They treat their inner state like holy soil. They keep it nourished, pure, and protected. Beloved, when they move for the day, they stay tuned. They walk like prayer in motion, calm, deliberate, graceful. Their peace itself becomes their practice. They give not out of pressure, but out of flow. They work not out of fear, but out of purpose. They rest not from exhaustion, but from completion. Their entire life becomes worship without words. And at night, before they sleep, they seal the day in gratitude. They review the good, not the worry. They bless the lessons, not the losses. They say softly, "Thank you, Spirit, for everything I received and everything I released." And then, as they drift into rest, they hand their consciousness back to divine mind, trusting it to organize tomorrow. Say softly now, "My days begin with peace and end with praise." Again, "My days begin with peace and end with praise." That rhythm, gratitude, alignment, protection, becomes their secret wealth frequency. They do not have to announce it, because their results announce themselves. You can feel their energy when they enter a room. Calm, confident, magnetic. They glow without showing. They prosper without performing, because they have turned their daily spiritual practice into daily wealth practice. Florence said, "Prayer is the key to heaven, but faith unlocks the door. And I tell you, beloved, consistency keeps it open. That is why the spiritually wealthy practice daily, silently, faithfully, not for ritual's sake, but for relationship's sake. They are in constant communication with divine mind, and that communication becomes their protection, their provision, their peace. So keep your daily practice sacred. Make it your secret temple, your private meeting place with infinite mind, because in that stillness, heaven rearranges your world. Say softly now, "I meet the divine in silence. I am recharged in stillness. My daily peace produces my daily prosperity." And as you speak these words, feel your heart relax, your breath deepen, and your energy stabilize. For you are learning what the spiritually wealthy already know, that the richest moments happen in quiet conversation with the divine. And that silence is your strongest prayer. Beautiful. Here is Keynote 40. Their inner doubts and battles, expanded into about 800 words in Florence Scovel Shinn's sacred, reassuring, and deeply introspective voice. written in the perfect rhythm for emotional voiceover, blending spiritual truth with gentle authority. Beloved, even the most spiritually wealthy souls, the calm ones, the confident ones, the magnetic ones, have their moments of doubt. They too wake some mornings with a trembling thought that whispers, "What if it doesn't work this time?" But here lies their difference. They never invite doubt, it, bless it, and transform it into power. Privately, quietly, faithfully. Florence Scovel Shinn said, "Every man is a golden link in the chain of my good." That includes the moments that challenge you, the thoughts that test you, and the doubts that try to shadow your faith. For the spiritually wealthy understand, doubt is not an enemy, it is a messenger. It appears only to reveal where faith must grow stronger. When fear enters their mind, they do not panic. They pause. They do not confess it to everyone, nor seek sympathy from those who would feed it. They bring it straight to the divine. They say, "Spirit, this fear is not mine. I return it to the light." And in that moment, they transmute what could have become poison into prayer. Beloved, they have learned that when you speak your fears to the wrong people, those fears multiply. But when you speak them only to God, they dissolve. Because human sympathy may comfort you, but divine truth transforms you. And transformation is the goal. You see, the spiritually wealthy guard their world like holy ground. They know every thought is a seed, and they will not allow weeds of fear to grow unchecked. When doubt rises, they do not feed it with more words. They starve it with silence. They replace it with declaration. They speak softly but firmly. "I walk by faith, not by sight." And even if their voice shakes, their decision does not. They may feel uncertainty, but they choose belief. Because faith is not the absence of fear, it is the mastery of it. Florence said, "Fear must be erased from the consciousness before the divine order can come." So they work within. They do not fight doubt. They erase it through remembrance. They remind themselves of every miracle that has already come through faith. They recount each answered prayer, each divine provision, each moment grace showed up uninvited but right on time. They let memory build momentum, and that remembrance becomes the cure for anxiety. Say softly now, "I remember every miracle, and I trust the next one." Again, "I remember every miracle, and I trust the next one." This is how the spiritually wealthy win battles no one sees. They do not post their pain. They process it through presence. They do not announce their struggles. They surrender them in silence. Because they know that when you bring your weakness to the divine, heaven strengthens it. Their private moments of doubt become classrooms for deeper wisdom. They learn that fear is simply faith pointed in the wrong direction. So they turn it around. When fear says, "What if it goes wrong?" faith says, "What if it goes perfectly right?" When fear says, "You can't," faith says, "God already did." And that reversal becomes their ritual. Beloved, you must understand. The world trains you to fear delay, but the spiritually wealthy have learned to trust divine timing. When manifestation seems slow, they do not curse the process. They bless the waiting, because they know that delay is not denial. It is divine preparation. The universe is arranging the pieces they cannot yet see, and their only job is to stay in alignment, not agitation. Say softly now, "Every delay is divine preparation." Again. Every delay is divine preparation. Every time you repeat that, your spirit calms and your vibration steadies. And once you are calm, your miracle can find you. Florence said, "Faith never argues or fights. It simply knows." So when the spiritually wealthy feel fear creeping in, they stop arguing with it. They breathe. They affirm. They choose peace again. They might walk, pray, journal, or sit in silence until peace returns. Because they know, peace is not the reward. Peace is the path. And here lies their power. They never let temporary emotions dictate eternal truth. They may cry for a moment, but they don't camp in sorrow. They may question for an hour, but they end the day in gratitude. They may tremble in the dark, but they still whisper, "Let there be light." Beloved, this is how you win the inner battle. You do not need to be fearless. You need to be faithful. Because faith, even as small as a mustard seed, moves mountains when it's consistent. So the next time you feel worry stirring, don't broadcast it to the world. Close your eyes, go within, and declare softly, "This thought is not mine. This fear is not truth. I am one with divine supply, and I am safe in divine order." The moment you say it, heaven takes over the situation. Fear fades, clarity returns, and your vibration resets to power. Because the spiritually wealthy know, inner victory always precedes outer success. They handle doubt in silence, so that faith can speak louder than ever. They walk through storms with calm faces, because their hearts are anchored in divine knowing. And though the world may never see their battles, it will surely witness their blessings. Florence said, "Every test is but a chance to prove the power of God." So they do not fear the test, they welcome it. They know that when they stay centered, miracles are born out of pressure. And what once felt like battle soon becomes breakthrough. Say softly now, "Every test strengthens my faith. Every fear reminds me of my power. Every doubt turns into divine direction." Again, slower with certainty, "I am calm. I am centered. I am covered by grace. Beloved, from this day on, treat every doubt as a signal, not a setback. Let it point you back to peace. And remember, you never fight alone. For when you face fear with faith, heaven fights with you." That is how the spiritually wealthy conquer their inner battles. Not loudly, but faithfully. Not through resistance, but through remembrance. Not by proving, but by trusting. And when the battle is over, their peace shines brighter than before. That peace becomes their wealth. That calm becomes their crown. And so it is. Beloved, every truly wealthy soul, in spirit and in life, lives by divine instruction. They do not move because of pressure. They move because of prompting. They do not act because the world demands it. They act because spirit whispers it. And when that whisper comes, they obey in silence. Florence Scovel Shinn said, "Intuition is God's way of speaking to a human mind." The spiritually wealthy have learned to recognize that voice. The still, small voice that comes in peace, not panic. It does not shout. It does not argue. It does not confuse. It simply knows. Beloved, this voice does not come to the busy mind. It visits the quiet one. That is why those who live by divine law make silence their daily sanctuary. For in the noise of the world, fear speaks loudly. But in the stillness of faith, divine mind gives instruction. The spiritually wealthy know that when the inner voice speaks, they must not rush to tell anyone. They do not need agreement from man, when heaven has already confirmed the plan. They act quietly, knowing that spiritual instruction is personal, not public. They understand that the more you talk about divine direction, the less you hear it. Because talking disperses energy, while silence concentrates it. Florence said, "Faith acts without asking why. And that is the rule they live by. When spirit nudges them, call this person, apply there, forgive that debt. They do not overthink. They do not delay. They obey, because they know that divine timing requires divine response. Heaven's instruction always carries a window of grace, and those who act within that window are met with miracles. Beloved, when you receive divine instruction, it may not make sense to logic. It rarely does. The mind measures, the spirit moves. Logic sees risk, faith sees revelation, and those who walk by faith see what logic never could. The spiritually wealthy do not ask, "How will this work?" They say, "I trust it already has." When you learn to follow that inner leading, doors open without effort. Opportunities appear that no human could have arranged. You find yourself at the right place, with the right people. In the right moment, not because you forced it, but because you flowed with it. That is the way of divine order. Say softly now, "I am guided. I am guarded. I am grounded in grace." Again, I am guided. I am guarded. I am grounded in grace. Every time you speak those words, your energy field stabilizes. You begin to feel that calm, quiet confidence that only faith brings. You no longer rush to make things happen. You allow them to unfold through obedience. Beloved, divine instruction often arrives as a feeling, not a sentence. It may come as peace about one choice and unease about another. The spiritually wealthy trust that signal. They understand that peace is direction. When something is meant for them, it carries no strain. When it is not, even opportunity feels heavy, and so they follow the lightness. Florence said, "Nothing stands between man and his highest good but fear." So when divine instruction feels strange, they do not resist it with fear. They remember that spirit sees what they cannot. That the steps may look uncertain, but the destination is already safe. They obey, not because they understand, but because they trust. The spiritually wealthy move differently. They don't chase. They're called. They don't guess. They're guided. They don't rush. They're ready. And the world often calls them lucky. But heaven calls them aligned. Beloved, you must learn this same rhythm. When the whisper comes, honor it. When the nudge repeats, follow it. You don't have to explain it to anyone. Divine instruction is not a group project. It is a covenant between you and infinite mind. Say softly now, when spirits, I move in silence. Again and when spirit speaks, I move in silence. Because silence protects direction. The spiritually wealthy never expose their divine orders to those who have not heard them. They know that when others cannot hear what you hear, they will try to correct it. Not out of malice, but misunderstanding. And misunderstanding can muffle miracles. So they protect their hearing by protecting their words. Florence said, obedience to intuition is the key to success. And indeed, that is the foundation of spiritual wealth. Not hard work alone, but aligned work. Not effort alone, but instruction followed in faith. Beloved, there are times when the divine will ask you to release something before the new comes. To give before you receive. To walk before you see. In those moments, trust the invisible map. Because every divine instruction carries divine provision with it. Heaven will never send you on a journey without already preparing the road. The spiritually wealthy don't need the full plan. They move one faithful step at a time. And somehow every step reveals the next. It is like walking through that clears as you go. You don't see the destination, but you know you're not lost. That is the peace of obedience. Say softly, each step I take is divinely guided. Each choice I make is divinely ordered. Again slower, each step I take is divinely guided. Each choice I make is divinely ordered. When you live this way, beloved, you no longer fear mistakes. Because even your detours are divine design. Even your pauses are protection. Even your no's are preparation for a greater yes. So do not question the whisper. Do not rush to tell the world what heaven told you in private. Let your actions speak your obedience. And let the results reveal your relationship with divine mind. For that is what the spiritually wealthy do. They receive quietly. They act faithfully. And they prosper peacefully. Because obedience, beloved, is the highest form of trust. And those who trust the divine completely never lack anything. Say softly now as your decree. I follow divine instruction in peace. I walk in perfect order. I move under grace. And what I am called to do, I am fully supplied to do. Again with conviction. I am led by spirit. And my obedience creates my abundance. And as you breathe those words, feel the stillness wrap around you like light. For you are now walking the way of the spiritually wealthy. The quiet ones who move when spirit moves, and manifest miracles without announcing them. And so it is. Beloved, when the spiritually wealthy finish their prayer, their decree, their affirmation, or their manifestation work, they do not rush back into noise. They do not step from heaven straight into chaos. They stay still. They remain quiet. They understand that what has just been spoken into the invisible must be sealed in peace, not scattered by hurry. Florence Scovel Shinn said, every time you make a statement of truth, you plant a seed in the invisible. And the spiritually wealthy know that once a seed is planted, the soil must not be disturbed. The moment after you pray is the most sacred moment of all. It is when the energy field opens. It is when heaven begins to move unseen. And if you guard that vibration, your miracle grows in silence. Beloved, this is why the rich in spirit treat their energy after prayer like holy ground. They do not complain after affirming. They do not worry after decreeing. They do not undo their manifestation by contradiction. They seal their vibration in faith and walk forward, as though the work is already done. When they finish their morning decrees, they do not scroll through fear. They sit in quiet confidence. They hold their peace like a crown, because they know the law. The spoken word returns multiplied. If you speak truth and follow it with doubt, you create confusion. But if you speak truth and follow it with silence, you create power. Florence said, faith knows it has already received and acts accordingly. So after the spiritually wealthy speak their word, they act as though it is already theirs. They carry themselves like receivers, not beggars. They dress with confidence, they walk with ease, they speak gently. Because their outer life mirrors their inner belief. They know that the prayer is not over until the energy matches the declaration. Beloved, many people pray and then rush to worry. They affirm and then argue with the world. They decree abundance and then scroll through comparison. But that breaks the energy. The spiritually wealthy have learned a higher way. When they finish speaking, they release it to divine mind and remain in harmony. They trust that the law is already working, even if nothing appears to be changing. They know manifestation is like baking bread. Once it's in the oven, you don't keep opening the door to check. You trust the process. Because if you open the door too soon, you let the heat escape. So they protect their prayer heat, their spiritual fire, through calm detachment. Say softly now, I release and rest. Again, I release and rest. Every time you say those words, your spirit aligns with divine order. You let go of control, and you let God handle completion. Beloved, when you finish your spiritual work, whether it's a decree, a visualization, or an affirmation, imagine your aura as light, soft and golden, glowing around you. That light is sensitive. It carries the energy of your intention. It must be shielded from negativity, criticism, gossip, or fear. Because every thought you entertain immediately after prayer either strengthens your vibration or weakens it. That is why the spiritually wealthy do not engage with drama after divine work. They don't rush into phone calls, arguments, or distractions. They stay sacredly silent for a while, walking slowly, breathing deeply, smiling softly. They know that silence is the cement that seals their decree. Florence said, after man knows the truth, he cannot afford to be negative. Because negativity reopens what faith had already closed. So they protect their vibration like a newborn dream. They stay gentle with themselves and with others. They avoid explaining what they just prayed for, because divine energy is still organizing the details. Beloved, I tell you, right after prayer, the universe is listening most closely. It listens to see if you will contradict what you have just commanded. If you say, I am rich in divine supply, and then sigh, but it never happens for me, the universe takes the sigh, not the statement. But if you say, I am rich in divine supply, and then stay peaceful, heaven says, she knows. Bring it to her now. This is why the spiritually wealthy practice emotional discipline. Their peace after prayer is their proof of faith. They measure their belief not by words but by calm. Because peace means it's done. Say softly now, my peace is my proof. Again, my peace is my proof. After they pray, they may take a walk, drink water slowly, or listen to stillness. They may write gratitude for what has not yet appeared. They may simply whisper, thank you, thank you, thank you, until joy fills the room. Because that joy is the vibration of completion. Beloved, the aura after prayer is magnetic. It sends out waves of light that draw matching experiences back to you. But if you rush into fear, those waves become scattered. So remain soft, remain sure, remain silent for a while. Let the divine do its work. Florence said, all that belongs to you, by divine caught should come to you under grace, in perfect ways. So trust that once you have spoken your word, heaven has heard you. You do not need to repeat the prayer in panic. You need only live in gratitude. Say softly now, I have spoken my word, and heaven has heard me. I rest in the knowing that it is done. Again, slower and deeper. I rest in the knowing that it is done. And as you breathe, imagine your aura shining brighter, a field of faith, glowing gold around you, protecting your peace, magnetizing your good. This is the posture of spiritual wealth. The quiet after prayer is not empty. It is electric. It hums with divine creation. Beloved, when you finish your manifestation work, say, feel more. Do less, believe more. Because what you believe in silence will soon become what you hold in your hands. The spiritually wealthy live by this rhythm. They speak, they seal, they stay still. And that stillness becomes their secret strength, because the universe responds to consistency, not noise. So from this moment on, protect your energy after prayer like gold. Bless your stillness. Trust your word. And remember, what you release in peace always returns in power. And so it is. Beloved, the spiritually wealthy never boast about their blessings before they bloom. And even when the miracle arrives, they do not shout, "Look what I did." They whisper, "Look what God has done through me." Because they know, true wealth speaks in silence. And miracles do not need marketing. Florence Scovel Shinn said, "Faith never boasts. It simply knows." The spiritually wealthy live by that law. They are not in competition with others. They are in communion with the divine. Their results are not announcements. They are confirmations that the law works. They do not flaunt manifestation. They demonstrate it. Their peace is proof. Their calm is evidence. Their abundance becomes the quiet testimony of divine order in motion. Beloved, the ones who truly walk with spirit never need to convince anyone that the law of attraction is real. Their life becomes the sermon. Their aura becomes the advertisement. Their consistency becomes the teaching. You see, when you are genuinely aligned, your results do not make you loud. They make you luminous. Because every miracle that appears in your life is not to prove power, but to express love. It is the universe saying, "I keep my promises." A Florence said, "There is no such thing as coincidence. Every blessing comes by law." So the spiritually wealthy don't call their success luck. They call it law fulfilled. They don't feel surprised when good arrives. They feel grateful. Because they knew it was already theirs in the invisible long before it appeared in the visible. When the world says, "You're so lucky," they smile and say quietly, "No, I'm so aligned." Beloved, when your manifestation appears, whether it's money, opportunity, or healing, you must learn to receive it with reverence. Not to show the world what you've gained, but to thank the divine for what has been completed. For every miracle you receive has a purpose beyond yourself. It's a reminder to others that faith works, that love provides, that obedience opens doors no man can shut. The spiritually wealthy share their stories not for attention, but for activation. When they speak of what has manifested, they do so with humility and grace. They say, "This happened through divine timing. This came because I trusted the law." Their voice carries calm gratitude, not pride, because pride says, "I made this happen," but gratitude says, "God flowed through me." Florence said, "There is a supply for every demand." So when their supply comes, the spiritually wealthy give thanks before they spend it. They bless every dollar, every client, every gift. They hold it in their hands and whisper, "Thank you for flowing through me. I bless you, and I release you to multiply under grace." And that gratitude multiplies what they have, because the law is simple. What you bless, blesses you back. Beloved, when your miracle arrives, guard it with the same grace you used to birth it. You don't need to explain how it came. You don't need to prove that you manifested it. You simply continue walking in gratitude, letting the vibration of peace grow stronger. Because miracles attract more miracles when the receiver stays humble. The spiritually wealthy understand something profound. What you celebrate in private continues to expand in public. When they receive abundance, they share silently with others in need. When they experience promotion, they remain generous, not grand. When their manifestations appear, they return to prayer, not to ask for more, but to say thank you for what already is. Say softly now, I am grateful before, during, and after my miracle. Again, I am grateful before, during, and after my miracle. Every time you speak that, you align your spirit with divine flow. You remove the ego from creation, leaving only grace, and grace, beloved, never runs out. Florence said, man can only lose what he no longer appreciates. That means the moment gratitude fades, supply weakens. But the moment gratitude returns, abundance renews. That is why the spiritually wealthy mate thankfulness their daily habit. Not when they get something, but even when they give something away. They bless the outgoing and the incoming equally. They know that both are proof of circulation, and circulation is life. When you start receiving miracles, beloved, stay anchored. Don't let people's curiosity pull you off your spiritual path. Many will ask, how did you do it? And you may feel tempted to explain every method. But the spiritually wealthy smile gently and say, through divine order. That answer says everything and nothing at once, protecting the sacred while inspiring faith. Beloved, remember this. When your miracle arrives, that is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of your next evolution. Every answered prayer carries a responsibility to live as a vessel of the divine, to use your blessing to bless others, to let your abundance heal, not boast, to let your peace teach, not preach. Say softly now, my miracle is my ministry. Again, my miracle is my ministry. Because every manifestation you receive becomes proof that spirit is real and faith works. You become a living scripture of grace, your life preaching without a word. Florence said, nothing stands between man and his highest good but fear. So when your miracle comes, don't fear losing it. Don't cling to it. Simply bless it, enjoy it, and keep circulating. Because you now know the law, what you bless multiplies, what you fear dissolves. The spiritually wealthy live in that rhythms. They create in silence. They receive in gratitude. They share in humility. And then, quietly, they begin again. Beloved, your miracles are on their way. You will not need to convince anyone when they arrive. They will see. They will feel. They will know. For the vibration of grace is undeniable. Say softly now as your final decree. My miracles reveal themselves in perfect timing. I receive in peace. I give in love. And I live under grace. In perfect ways. Then breathe deeply. And imagine your life surrounded by quiet proof. Every corner of your existence touched by divine order. Because that is what it means to live as the spiritually wealthy. You no longer chase validation. You walk in confirmation. And so it is. Beloved, now that you have listened, breathed, and believed, I want you to remember this truth. You were never meant to chase money. You were meant to call it. You were never meant to beg for blessings. You were meant to receive them. Calmly, confidently, completely. You are not here to prove your worth. You are here to remember your inheritance. For the universe is not testing you. It is teaching you. And spirit is not withholding anything from you. It is waiting for you to align with what has been yours all along. Florence Scovel Shinn said, nothing can come to you unless it belongs to you by divine right. So hear me now, beloved. Everything that is truly yours cannot miss you. The house that carries your name, the wealth with your energy, the opportunities prepared for your hands. They are already on their way. You do not need to chase what already remembers you. You need only hold your peace, keep your faith, and walk as if it is done. Say softly now, no longer chase. I attract. Again, I no longer chase. I attract. Every time you say those words, your energy shifts from desperation to declaration. You stop reaching outward and start radiating inward. You stop begging for signs and start becoming the signal. You stop doubting your worth and start living your wealth. Beloved, your silence has power. Your faith has frequency. Your words have weight. And your energy, your calm, your certainty, your gratitude, is your magnet. You don't need to shout to be heard by heaven. You need only whisper with conviction. Because the universe does not respond to noise. It responds to knowing. So tonight, when you close your eyes, see yourself surrounded by golden light. Feel that light circling your aura. healing you, clearing you, magnetizing you. It is the light of divine supply. It knows where your blessings are. It knows what belongs to you. And as you rest, it is already guiding everything that has your name on it to find you. Quickly, peacefully, perfectly. Say softly, everything that belongs to me is finding me now, under grace, in perfect ways. Again, slower. Everything that belongs to me is finding me now, under grace, in perfect ways. A breathe. Feel that truth enter your soul. Because wealth is not waiting for you. It is remembering you. Money does not belong to the loud or the lucky. It belongs to the aligned. It belongs to the peaceful. It belongs to the faithful. Florence said, there is a perfect plan for your life, bigger, better, and more beautiful than you have ever dreamed. So if you are listening to these words now, you are already stepping into that plan. Your doubts are dissolving. Your frequency is rising. Your divine inheritance is awakening. You are not becoming wealthy. You are remembering you always were. Because Spirit has never seen you as poor, broken, or limited. It has only ever seen you as powerful, prosperous, and complete. Say it softly, with faith. I am powerful. I am prosperous. Again. I am powerful. I am prosperous. I am complete. Let those words echo through your being. Let them become your new rhythm. Because the moment you feel whole, everything incomplete rushes to join you. The moment you stop asking when, and start saying, now, heaven moves faster than time. Beloved, your season of struggle is over. Your era of alignment has begun. You have planted. You have believed. Now rest. Because what you have spoken in faith will appear in form. And as Florence would say, it will come under grace, in perfect ways. So lift your hands, open your heart, and whisper with me now, one final time. Divine Spirit, I am open. I am magnetic to miracles. All that belongs to me flows to me now, easily, freely, abundantly. I rest in faith. I walk in peace, and I receive in perfect timing under grace and in divine order. Now breathe deeply. Smile softly. You have just aligned with the frequency of wealth. And from this moment forward, everything you touch, think, and speak will rise to meet that vibration. Your aura is glowing, your faith is working, your miracle is unfolding, and so it is, forever and always.